start. So, stop everyone. We're live. Um, we're gonna have a great show. A few people. I'm missing out on Weeb. Weeb not coming through. He's recovering from COVID, and this week is a little bit. He's not feeling that well. So hopefully we see him next week. But to make it up, we have a special guest, a very interesting one, because a person I've interacted with on Twitter Spaces on multiple occasions. Uh, Please welcome Final. I only know you by Final Fantasy, dude. So go ahead, introduce yourself and what you're playing.
Yeah, you can call me Drew. You can call me DC. You can call me Final Fantasy Podcast or FF Pod. I'll respond to any of those. We're all friends here.
We'll call you Drew. Okay, so what you been up to?
Oh, I'm living the life as a gamer, man. You know what? It's funny because I cover baseball for a living, and there is no baseball right now. There's a big lockout, the big thing going on between the owners and the players. And so maybe the one silver lining of that to me is someone who loves baseball is that I also love video games, and we are living in a time, my friend. We
Oh
are
yeah,
this is incredible that we got, and I'll even take it back 1 month before instead of just start of the year in December, Endwalker, the pinnacle of the greatest MMO of all time, Final Fantasy 14. Then right after that we get Sifu. Then right after that we get Horizon Forbidden West, and then we
one
get
second,
Elden Ring, and
one
all
second,
this stuff. And it's like,
one,
wow,
one
yeah.
second. Go to the Nate, can you try to go to our YouTube channel? For some reason, there is it's giving me a fault.
Yeah, Omar.
What am I doing wrong? Do you know? Sorry, people. We having. I don't even know if we're live, cause it's telling me that I'm live, yet I'm getting uh, a fault code. Can you
Huh.
see it? Can you hear me, Nate? Okay. Ghost in the Shell, can you hear me?
I can hear you, bro. Just
Oh,
give me a second. You want
oh,
me to
okay.
do like four things at once? Give me 1 second.
Oh, okay, yeah. Take your time. Sorry, Drew. We're still not live. That's why. For some
Oh,
reason, maybe
no
I.
worries.
I mean, I see the channel. It looks like it's live. So,
It's saying it's live exactly.
looks live to me.
But when you press on it, does it work or no? Are you able to hear us?
Yes, it's live.
Oh, so I am the only person getting this fault code.
Yeah, I
Then.
don't know what you're getting, but it's live.
So
I'm
we're
hearing
live.
us right now.
Oh, so we're live right now. Okay, because here, this is what I'm getting. Let me screenshot. It's gonna be in
I
Dutch,
mean,
but just in general. So you
you
see
might
it.
not want to worry about it right now.
Okay, okay, yeah. Gang Despair, you're more than welcome to join. And Drew, sorry for interrupting you. I thought we're not live. Go ahead.
No, it's always I always tell people the best podcast I've ever recorded and the best music I ever recorded. I never actually recorded it. It's one of the worst things in the world. You don't want to go an hour on something and then find out you weren't recording the whole time. That's way worse than having an awkward moment at the beginning of a show. So I've been there. I've 100% been there. But yeah, man, I was just saying, I'm living the life as a gamer. I know we're gonna get into some of the Square stuff later on, but even like having stuff like Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster and Triangle Strategy out for an old school JRPG lover like me. While I've also got these like Horizon Forbidden West kind of experiences. It's just like everything, man. So I'm like excited to be here and talk to you about what's going on in the world of gaming right now, just because there's a lot, and I'm mostly excited about most of it.
I feel you. I have the same exact. Like I'm literally 120 hours in Horizon, and I'm almost half in the game, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And with that being said, let's introduce our panel members. We start with Nate. How are you doing, dude?
I'm good, man. Just I mean, you already know. Uh like Final Fantasy podcast man here himself said, triangle strategy, Gran Turismo, Elden Ring, it's kind of hard to keep up. So,
You
um
already got the plot with with Horizon Forbidden West,
I did get
so
the plat for Horizon. I'm gonna get the girls there. We're getting there. They're
gaming. Hey, not gonna lie though, you're slacking off. People are getting the fast pass left and right in GTA, and
Hey man, they live on the East Coast and they woke up at like 6 in the morning. I was still awake watching The Office with Morgan. So yeah. So they can race all they want. I'll beat their ass later.
put it on screen. Then I wanna see it.
We will.
Um,
They can't help but brag if they beat me.
with that being, and our next person is Ghost. How you doing, dude? What you been playing?
What's up, man? What's up, man? It's me, Ghost in the Shell 55. And, I've just been gaming it up, working. I'm working a whole lot. I am still where I'm at, and I'll be leaving here shortly. So I'm playing Gran Turismo and really enjoying Cyberpunk. I can't stop playing it. So I'm just really switching back between those two. But mainly just I'm gonna when I get home tonight and shower up, eat up some food. I'm gonna jump back into Gran Turismo so I can get my licenses and get the ball rolling and start competing online and tearing some people up. So I'm just I agree with Nate and Mr. Creason there. Gaming overload, man, and it's a great time to be a gamer.
Okay, and let me. I assume you're not gonna touch Forbidden West anymore, eh?
No, I will, but like I said, I have a problem, and I got gaming attention deficit disorder.
Yeah.
So but I will eventually get back into it. But like I said, I did not expect. Like I bought Cyberpunk when it first came out, and of course with all its bugs and issues. And so when that PS5 patch came out, it's just sucked me back in, man. It literally it my other day when I was off on Wednesday, that's all I did all Wednesday, and most likely, other than playing Gran Turismo, that's going to be my new stuff. I'll probably be between Gran Turismo and Cyberpunk. I will dabble in some Horizon, but right now those two are just sucking my soul right now.
Gotcha. Hey, Nate, real talk. If Morgan is asleep, go wake her up. With that being said, okay, how you doing? And you're gonna get your 15 minutes to gush about Horizon.
Hey, I've been loving Horizon. Yeah, I haven't beat it yet because I want to do everything, but I'm sure I'll end up doing the main quest, finishing that, and then going back and doing absolutely everything.
How many hours are you in?
71 hours.
I am double it, and I am almost at half of the game around that.
Yikes!
Yeah, this game is massive, massive, massive.
It's massive.
Like I wanna start Elden Ring, but I'm not touching Elden Ring until I finish. Until I get the platinum for Horizon. So, how
Yeah.
is your experience with the game? Any bugs, glitches? Any, what's
Um,
your experience
there's
negative or
there's only
positive?
been there's only been one like major glitch for me, and that's when I tried to get on top of a tall neck and I clipped right through its head.
That
And at first I thought, well, maybe I'm not supposed to do it. And then I found out that people were saying, oh no, that they were able to do it before, a certain mission. And so I was like, well, I guess it just it just glitched out for me because I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it alone. And I left and I completed a mission, and then at the end of that mission, Aloy said, maybe I should go back and hit that tall neck that I saw earlier. So then I said, okay, I'll just go back, and I went back and it let me land on top of it. So
mm, um, if from the if it are you talking about the tonic with the monkeys, I think
yeah.
that's a quest you need to. I don't think you're able to get to it. Like I tried, and you glitch through it. So the thing is with this game, they want you to do it by the book. If you find a way around that book, they're not, not only they don't like that, they are actually denying you it. What I'm talking about is this: there is a quest where you need to climb a mountain in a specific way. I didn't do that. I climbed a mountain a la Skyrim or Morrowind with the horse, like the way you literally can climb anything. That's how I was able to climb that mountain. So I didn't use a glitch or a bug. I just outsmarted the system. But what happened? They locked me out of an encounter with an enemy and out an item to finish the side quest. So I had to reload the save file so I can get what I needed so I can climb the mountain the correct way. Which again it sucks because this is not the only thing that I had to deal with. There's a mission where you need to race a person. You need to win 3 races. I won the first and the second one. I teleported to the third race. Nobody there. Okay, let me rest. I rested. Nothing happened. And I did a lot of side mission and main mission, and then later I came back and I rested, and then the mission started. So, would you then agree or disagree that this game needed a little bit more time in the oven?
I mean, I would say that pretty much every game that comes out needs more time in the oven. But yeah, this one probably could have done another month, maybe. Because there is some stuff where it's like, okay, yeah, they could have taken maybe another month to really polish it even further.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I have not encountered anything like game breaking or anything that like completely turned me off and said, you know what, I'm gonna put this down until I can like a patch comes through. So, um, the only other thing that I've kind of experienced was very, very rarely. It's happened like maybe 2, 3 times during the whole 71 hours I've been playing. Is that randomly, like the screen will go black, like during
That,
combat or something but it's like for like a split second,
yeah, it's a
like
split
maybe
second,
not
yeah.
even a second.
Yeah, it happened to me 10 times or 20 times in the run so far. I feel you on that front. I think this is the limitation of PlayStation 4, but I could be wrong. Because the PlayStation 5, especially with the SSD, it's not supposed to have it act like this. Maybe, Nate, can you elaborate on this? Is this because of the shortcoming of the PlayStation 4 or what? Is okay, okay. So, okay, um, how far are you in the game? He
He's
said.
get, he's getting a haircut. He said.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I missed that. Then, okay. How far are you in the game?
How far am I?
Hmm.
Um, I don't want to like spoil anything, so I'm gonna try and stay where I am without giving anything away. How do I say it?
Just say if
Let's
you're at the
say that
best.
let's say that I have to go back to the base after a previous plan went wrong.
Okay, I know where you're at. I just had that done to me. I feel you. Yeah, that.
Okay.
I feel you. I know where you're at. Okay. With that, you're literally where I'm at right now. And I actually had to reload the save file because I wanted to make sure I've done everything right before doing the mission again, so I don't miss out on a trophy or something like that. But I feel you where you're at. And with that being said, we're missing a few people. Morgan asleep maybe. And Weeb is sick, so thoughts and prayers for him for his corona. Let's hope he recover from it. And what's his name? Akira. I wanted him to have him on. He is in the middle of his phase. It's still ongoing, so we'll see how it goes. And let's start with the first topic, which is our favorite company, Activision. Who here loves Activision? I see a lot of people love. Yeah, well, Activision is blaming the Microsoft deal for their inability to hire another woman onto their board of direction. Okay, how do you feel about that?
Activision blaming Microsoft for not hiring another woman or something.
No,
Is that what
no.
you said?
Activision is blaming the Microsoft deal
Uh-huh.
for their inability to hire another woman onto their board of directors.
I I I don't know. Like I don't know like the specifics of the deal and like how it would block something like that. So I can't like it almost just sounds like, he said she said or, like just like I don't have anything to really go off of that to form an opinion.
I don't think
So
you fully understand it, so I'm gonna explain it. You're aware of the Activision situation with the sexual harassment and stuff like that, right?
I mean, never
yeah.
mind like the lawsuits. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, go. What do you want to say?
I said, never mind that, don't take any accountability for all the lawsuits, and the unionization and the inability to, get out of your own way. I mean, it's just, that sounds just like, while Mr. Kotick is still, in charge, I guess, or still the CEO of Activision, that's just one more way to deflect from all the internal issues that you have. I mean, now there's another lawsuit, about the wrongful death lawsuit of the young woman that committed suicide there. You've got shareholders who are suing, to stop the Microsoft deal. You're going to get sued out the ass from your employees who are in that the lawsuit to of the sexual misconduct and the behavior and that whole atmosphere. I mean, no one of their right mind, unless you're just money hungry, no one with some integrity or any moral, morality to them is going to want to take a board position there. I mean, it's ass backward. It's just a cop out. It's my opinion.
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't. I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't. You couldn't pay me enough money in the world to jump into the shit show that is, and whatever Microsoft wants to try to do to change that. I mean, that's when your company is branded like that, with the misconduct and the huge lawsuits and your employees trying to unionize because the working conditions are horrible. That's a big hole to dig yourself out of, and no wonder. As Jazz, 7780 likes to say, no wonder, Dollar Bill Phil swooped in to pick them up for the cheap.
That's literally how it feels. Literally cop out. Because if you're a lady, you're not gonna want to be in any vicinity near Activision.
Right, because you're associated that you condone that. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for women. I'm not a woman. I'm saying, but the same token, with where I'm at, I'm on a board, and if my company was accused of so many wrongdoings, why would I want to be a part of it? I mean, there comes a point where you draw a line, especially monetarily wise. Like, of course, those board members and the shareholders get paid, enormous salaries. But I applaud whomever turned down or resigned from those positions just because of the culture that they've bred over there. And it just shows you like the moral turpitude of someone like Bobby Kotick, who, through all this turmoil, he stands to gain the biggest. Was it like some $400 million payout if he's get fired, or at the end of all this?
Yep.
It's just bonkers. But
that beyond scummy, right?
It's beyond. It's the definition of scummy. But hey, I'm not gonna say, but people love to say, "Oh, I don't care what the shareholders. I don't care what these companies do. I just want the games," and that's fine as a gamer. Yeah, that's what we should ultimately want. But at the same token, like so if some Nazi game company was making games, you'd support that just because they're giving you games. At some point in time, you have to draw the line, man, where something is foul business. You know what I'm saying? And it has to start from the top. So you have to have people, at the high ups that don't want to do business or don't want to associate their names with it. And then hopefully that trickles down to, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna pass on this year's Call of Duty. Maybe this, what? I'm gonna speak with my wallet, and that's how you learn these companies to do better, is when you start speaking with your wallet. And of course, the gaming starved community, now that there's a possibility that it might be exclusive or they're going to get some new games or new IPs, they don't care anymore. And you could have saw that during the when Dollar Bill Phil was talking out of the side of his neck. He never once condemned Activision because he had his hand, he had his hand cupped over by Bobby Kotick's ear the whole time. You know what I'm saying? That's why they never once came out and said, Sony came definitively out, and was like, Jim Ryan was like, you know what, this atmosphere, and we're gonna do this, and we don't accept, these type of practices. Strong words, right? But the other company was just like, well, we're, Microsoft's not clean either. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall there. So I don't know. It is what it is. And all we can do as consumers, as gamers, is speak with our wallets.
Vote with our wallet, yep. So basically, that's what you explained it perfectly, how it is. Basically, there is no accountability to their action whatsoever. Not only is there ladies that committed suicide because of sexual harassment and bullying, and she literally reported to the HR, and no one gave a fuck. Not only did they not give a fuck, they literally mocked her, and to the point where it was just too much. Like, the amount of stuff that they did, they, okay, and I'm gonna go into it. I'm just gonna keep it 100. It's disgusting. They literally stole breast milk from refrigerators. They had they insinuated sexual innuendos with people that didn't want that, and reported them, and still had to deal with it. And at some point, yeah, you're you have no other option than, well, apparently in her option was she killed herself, which is tragic and it should have never happened. And I really hope that. So here's the thing. I don't care about Call of Duty. This is not about console war. I want Activision to die. I genuinely do. Because they don't care about their people. They are literally blaming everything what happened to them on the Microsoft them buying them deal, not on their inability to preventing a woman getting sexually harassed and committing suicide. No, that's not on them. It's all Microsoft's fault. It's disgusting. It's like how low must you stoop for this one?
I mean, it's kind of self evident how low they'll go. I mean, they've already shown, you know. And here's the thing: I'm a fan of the Call of Duty series. I mean, as a former soldier myself, those are one of the games. That's one of the games and the genres that me, my compadres, my fellow soldiers, we love to play. It's that gets our competitive juices up. But at the same token, when you take a step back from it as a gamer, or as a human being, and you see that, this place is an uncomfortable place to work, so much so that, like you said, a person had to go so far they felt like they had to end their life because of it. And when you step back from it and you look at it from that perspective, it's like, damn, it was for real fucked up. I mean, I'm a man. I did my cat calls, and I did, in my younger days. I mean, there's no way I could run for president because they dig all my skeletons up. But, but the simple fact is, what I mean? Like when you breed a culture like that, throughout your whole company, and where it's status quo, just do foul shit like that. And then because you have such a hard time hiring a female, board member, and retaining staff, and because your whole identity is toxic and just a shitty place to work. I mean, not only your wages, the work environment, the long hours, the just everything, and then you start complaining that it's Microsoft's acquisition, or put the blame off somewhere else, and that comes from the top. Bobby Kotick himself. It just falls right in his lap, and so. The writing's on the wall for him when if this merger goes through, whenever it goes through. I mean, of course he has a golden feather he's going to fly on, that hundreds of millions of dollars he's going to earn. But if I was in a position at Microsoft, like I would, especially now that you're trying to shift blame to them, like why would you want this company? And then it kind of reflects. I'm gonna catch hell for this, but it kind of reflects on Microsoft a little bit too. Is like you're being thrown into this, and you're being told that it's your fault. Why would you continue with this? Like, I don't know. It's either here nor there, but it's just not a good place to be, and it's not a place that no one wants to work at. And so, I don't know. Excuse me?
Money talk.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, that's just how the world works. I mean, but like I said, you have to have like the intestinal fortitude. I make a lot of money, but the simple fact is, if my company did some foul shit, no amount of money in the world would it just. I would hope that I have enough, integrity to stand up for what is right, and it just boggles my mind that sometimes those dollars, make people just do the wildest things, say the wildest things, and it's sad that it's sad that it's like that.
Especially for a company like Microsoft, with $1 trillion company, you would think they would have thought better than it. Like, especially with the fiasco that Activision is in right now. But hey, again, money talk and budget walk.
Money talks, but also, You know, isn't that kind of what? Isn't that kind of what they do? I mean, look, if you look at the history of Bethesda, you know, they weren't knights in shining armors either. You know, they went through lawsuit hell years before, you know what I'm saying? And they were on a decline. I mean, they got roasted and absolutely barbecued and sued the hell out of because of Fallout 76 and their practices and their over monetization, and they're just money hungry, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, I get it as a person that's maybe that's in those circles as far as with world finance and stuff like that. I get it, you know, buy them when they're low, but at the same token, it's like they're low because of their own actions and not because of market manipulation. They're low because they were doing shitty, really unscrupulous things. That's the reason why you bought them low. And so, I don't know. It is what it is. This is the world we live in.
I fully agree with you on everything you said. Hey, we have Akira. Before we go to Akira, Drew, how do you feel about this one? What's your thought?
Oh yeah, no, I agree with everything that's been said. You know, I don't know that I would. I think you guys covered pretty much all of it. I'll just say this, I guess, if there's a way to, I don't know, this is one of those things that because I'm not really into their games. I just happen to not really be into Activision or Blizzard games, and
Me too.
so.
So I feel you.
You know, I'm kind of in this space where it's really comfortable and easy for me to just sit there and be like, yeah, get them, let them die. But you know, I can see the people who are maybe big fans of the IPs saying, well, you know, I at least understand buying the IPs, and I don't really know, you know, all the details of this, and I'm trying to rebrand. Look, as you both made it clear, you know, in corporations and the money talks situation, you know, where there was just no good way. The CEOs are always going to make money to walk away, and you know they're going to try to rebrand and restructure as though they never did anything wrong in the first place. And we got to hold them as accountable for that as we possibly can. But yeah, I get like wanting to save the popular IPs and hopefully you know this new version of whatever they are is nowhere near as toxic. But hopefully they're not toxic at all, right? The bar should not be like, hey, harass people less, you guys. Like, no, don't. Zero is the amount of harassment that is tolerable. So yeah, it's just an ugly, disgusting
Only
situation.
have one breast. You only got not two, just one.
Right, right. So yeah, you know, to hell with all those people at Activision and everything that they allowed to go on for so long, and like, you know, I just hope that somehow, some way, we can get rid of all that shit in gaming and Hollywood and everywhere because it's gross and it's far too common.
I agree with every single thing that all of you said. With that being said, let's welcome in Akira. How are you doing, dude? Did your space finally end, or did you have to cut it short so you can join us? Baka, Akira. Oh my god. Okay, we'll get back to him when he come back. Let's then cover the next topic, which is a very interesting one. Is despite everything, and I mean Microsoft buying Activision, Microsoft buying Bethesda. God forbid they buy Square Enix. PlayStation still account for 46 of all spent on console games, hardware and services. So the console market grew to a record of 60 billion in 2021, and PlayStation is still the market leader, like by far. The crazy part is Nintendo actually lost a little bit of of share dropped to 29, 2% less than 2020, while Microsoft just rose 1% to 25, and they still both lagging behind PlayStation. Like, that's crazy. Microsoft, I can understand. Like, put the console war aside, they're not doing great. But Nintendo is literally doing everything right, and they're far behind. How come? Is it third-party deals? Because they're clearly getting their own third-party deals that PlayStation's not getting. Look at what they just had released, the triangle game. I forgot. What's the name of it, Drew?
I just want to hop in real quick and let you know that Akira is telling me that he can't unmute himself. That he's trying to unmute himself and he doesn't know. So
Oh,
I don't know if there's something you can do to help him with that. But
okay. Just leave. Oh, I need to unmute you. Let me see. I just because I never touched his. Why is everyone muted? What the hell?
We're letting you have the We're letting you have the floor.
How can I unmute?
yeah, I can unmute, but he said it's not working for him to.
Did you guys all mute yourself on purpose or no?
Yeah, we muted ourselves on purpose.
Okay. So Innate is muted on purpose, Ghost is muted on purpose, Akira is muted. Oh, let me see. You are now. I muted you. I now unmuted you. Akira, you muted yourself. It seems to be. So what you need to do is leave and come back. Maybe that will fix it.
No.
He left. He will come back. And Drew, what's the name of that triangle game that Square Enix released on
Triangle strategy you're talking
Oh,
about?
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
triangle strat. Like Nintendo is getting its own exclusive, and
Yeah.
even with their own exclusive, like they're not slacking when it comes to exclusivity deals. So why is PlayStation such a gigantic?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hey,
There he
we hear
is.
you. Welcome
Yeah.
back, Akira.
Akira.
What the hell? I was muted the whole time.
Yeah, you muted yourself, and for some reason you couldn't unmute yourself.
Yeah, no, I joined in. I was already muted. But all right, so no, I didn't need to end the space abruptly. I ended it properly. It was ended proper. But
Okay, so
yeah, go
we
ahead. Ask the
covered
question again.
we covered the Activision deal. I don't think it's interesting for you, so let's focus on this
Yeah, no,
one,
I'm not
which
interested
is
in that.
which is basically the whole situation with PlayStation being the market leader. Like, why is I'm not focusing on Xbox. Xbox rising 1% good on them. I'm focusing on Nintendo literally losing 2% market share. Like, why? They're literally doing every single thing right, and their games sell. Like, say what you want to
You're talking about Nintendo, huh? Nintendo?
yeah.
Okay. So if I understood the question, Nintendo is still second. The PlayStation becomes the revenue. This is revenue, right?
We're talking about basically PlayStation is accounted for 46 of the market share, and Nintendo lost 2% market share. They're sitting now at 29, so 2% less. And Microsoft rose 1%, so they're sitting at 25%.
Nintendo.
Microsoft is
Uh,
literally doing a catch up, but
um,
how? How can a company that did everything wrong return?
okay.
I, no, I'm not focusing on Microsoft. Microsoft can do its own thing. I'm literally focusing on Nintendo, the giant
Nintendo.
that is
All right. Yeah.
Nintendo. How
Nintendo.
can
Okay.
they lose market share and getting almost caught up by Microsoft? Go ahead, Akira.
Okay. So Nintendo, right? Uh, Nintendo has always been an interesting thing. They're kind of a phenomenon themselves already because I made a tweet. When was that? Yesterday, I believe. I made a tweet that, in my perspective, or in our perspective, from where I'm from, PlayStation and Nintendo are not competitors for us. For us, they for us they coexist perfectly. They complement each other beautifully. They provide different games, completely different games from one another. That you actually feel proper incentive to have both PlayStation and Nintendo. It's kind of like how it feels for us. Nintendo, Nintendo is kind of moving in their own bubble. It's kind of like always been the thing about them. So they don't really they don't really get hurt by stuff like this. Just gonna say it like that, right? They don't really get hurt by stuff like this because they just move in their own bubble. So they got their own they got their own targets and goals that is basically outside of let's say outside competition. This is a bit weird thing because when I see Nintendo, they just coexist with competitions. They don't really directly compete with competitions because almost a lot of people kind of have like a Nintendo on the side. You know what I mean? Like you can have an Xbox or a PlayStation, but a lot of them will have a Nintendo on the side because that's kind of like how Nintendo coexists with their competition. So, for example, even if Nintendo is top 10 from the top 10 of success or market share or revenue type of list or some kind of thing, it doesn't really hurt them because they just found a fucking place where they cannot be hurt anymore. That's kind of like what Nintendo is. They just it's just impossible to hurt them anymore because of the position they took, which is to coexistence. They don't they don't really care about being number one. They don't care about being number 10. As long as the business is successful for them and in their own bubble that they're coexisting while being successful, they just win that way, and they do. They really do. They just bought a fucking the studio that they've been working with for 40 years, and I've never thought I'd see the day that they will buy them, but all right, they did. All right, so it's Nintendo is a different type of animal. They again, it's a phenomenon. That's all I can call Nintendo. I don't know what they did or how they went here or how they reached this point, but you can't just hurt them anymore because they just found a neutral place. That's how I would say Nintendo. They're
But
just doing things right in a way that they're just cannot be hurt by anything.
but how
Akira,
can their games do 20 million, 40 million, or something like that, and still the company under deliver? It's like, what are they
can I?
missing? Is it
This is the thing. Uh, this is the thing about. That's why I said right. I cannot see it as a loss for Nintendo. Because, like I said, they got their own bubble. They're not a part of this. They're not part of the competition. It's a weird thing to say, but it really is how it is. That they're kind of not part of the competition. They're just in the middle of that competition, and they siphon. Like they siphon from both. Like they just live from both. Not really both. All right, they just live for the competition. Like they just live within the competition, but they're not really directly competing with the competition. It's so hard to explain the position of Nintendo. So they can sell 20 million, 40 million, and their numbers might show some either going down or again less market share, or that kind of thing. But a matter of fact is Nintendo is not really losing anything, and Nintendo is not missing anything. They're just really successful in their own bubble that they found. Like they're just thriving like they never did before. Like Nintendo has always been big and successful, but the level that they receive from the Switch is just insane. Is what I would say. Like Nintendo has been successful ever since the Hanafuda cards, which is about if I recall correctly, Nintendo was about over 130 years old for a company, and Nintendo did not really have a proper low. Like they didn't really have a proper struggle because for some reason everything just works for Nintendo. Like they just make it work. For example, when I mentioned in my tweet, right? Nintendo saved console gaming back then after the video game crash with the Atari and the worst game of all time, which is ET, right? And then after 2 years, it was actually Nintendo who reignited the flames of console gaming for America and Japan, for example, like the two biggest console markets back then. And they got Mario, right? They got the NES, the SNES, the Super Famicom, and all that. But then Nintendo also have not only that they have the ideas already, they were also very fucking lucky because the person who the Mark Cerny of Nintendo was basically was working for them back then when they were only selling cards and toys in their maintenance. Maintenance, right? The people who clean the building. The Mark Cerny of Nintendo was discovered by the CEO himself while he's playing around with a toy he's building in his in his break, but his actual job is just cleaning the fucking building. And when they discovered that, they put him in the toy department, and then after that, they realized he can do more. Then he ended up creating the Famicom, the NES, the SNES, the fucking Game Boy, the DS, and it all came from a person that he just discovered accidentally. Nintendo is just full of fucking luck, and this has been their track record until today. Even the Switch, I would call it the luck. That's why they've been so damn successful, and they never reached a low point in their company's lifetime. And that's why I say, no matter what these numbers say or how much they go down, as long as Nintendo stays in their bubble, they will remain successful, and they will remain getting money, and they will remain to be the big company that they are. The numbers that they're showing, that you're seeing here, that they kind of lost in quotation marks, it's nothing. I'm not joking. It's really nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Nintendo is just thriving, and they're just gonna sell. And by the time they reveal the next Switch, not even that, by the time they release the Kirby, Kirby's gonna do fucking numbers. Breath of the Wild is gonna be crazy. The Nintendo OLED is doing crazy numbers despite being a $10 fucking difference with the improvement that they give to that damn console. But people are still buying it like it's hotcakes, right? They're the only company who, from the get go, sold a damn console and they never took a loss for it. That's how insane Nintendo's reach is. And their game never goes on sale, but they just sell like hotcakes. And no matter what these numbers show, because Nintendo is not like Sony or Microsoft, right? Sony and Microsoft kind of venture to other things, right? Nintendo is not like that. They're kind of restricted in their business. They kind of have a focus. That's why when you compare Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo by revenue or market share, it's a different story because Sony and Microsoft just does more than what Nintendo does. But for what Nintendo does, they are incredibly successful in what they're doing. That's how I would explain it, basically.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
to elaborate,
Yeah. Go.
to elaborate on that, like I agree with everything that Akira said, but so Nintendo is the gateway drug into gaming, right? It's the they have cornered a niche of the market that is so I guess attractive to every consumer, right? And especially in gaming. So when you know there are those grown ass men that are going out there and buying Switches, but the thing is, no one's parents run out to the stores to buy their 5, 6, 7, 8 year olds the Switches and those Mario games and those Kirby games and those family friendly games. Like Nintendo did a brilliant job of marketing their games and their services and their hardware to the entry into gaming, and a lot of that they rode the coattails, of course, of all their success. I'm in my mid 40s, and I grew up in the Nintendo era, so that it's nostalgic, right? But then you have every new generation of gamer is their first console is probably going to be a Switch, right? And then you have all these games, and their success is because Nintendo puts out games. Like all this market share talk that we're talking about, and the reason why Microsoft can't grow or can't get past this hump is because what are they not doing? It's the only metric that matters, and it's giving you games. That's all there is. You know what I'm saying? And in this long drought that a certain company has had is because they're not doing what? Not providing you games. Whereas Sony is providing their target audience what they want the most. And Nintendo has did a phenomenal job with, introducing. I mean, just look at the Switch in and itself. The little Joy-Cons, one's red, one's blue, or hot pink or whatever the color is, for male, female. It's easy to hold. It's transportable. It's ingenious how they cornered off that part.
And another curious thing, right? Because this is interesting. I got a small debate yesterday with someone. Genki posted, since Genki Gamer, is a Japanese friend of mine, and he likes Xbox. That's why he posts about Xbox. He actually has an Xbox in Japan, right? Basically, he was posting the numbers that were revealed about Xbox sales in Japan. And even I didn't know it, but it seems like for the last 20 years, they did not even reach 3 million units with all Xbox combined.
2.3 million.
So basically, there was someone in that post for Genki who commented, Xbox. Xbox is not a Japanese, product, something like that, right? So it would not sell as much as PlayStation, Nintendo. And basically, I made the argument that, Sony and Nintendo are Japanese companies, but they're doing fucking well worldwide. So what am I missing here? Right? And basically, you try to make the argument like, Sony. Try to make an argument. Sony and Nintendo are older. Well, sure, but 20 years is also a long fucking time. The only explanation that you need is they didn't try. They stopped trying.
Yeah,
that's it.
And the thing is like, America and Japan are the two biggest markets, but let's not forget India. Let's not forget, South America.
Europe.
Let's not forget
Europe, man.
Yeah, exactly. Europe. So it's like, the reason
they only care about USA, and that's it. That's
no. Wait. You mean Xbox? All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, but to go along with Akira's point is like they're their own bubble, and their minor gains or minor losses, it's not significant. Now, if that difference dropped, 15, 18%, then that's a whole different story. But that's just, I guess, a fluctuation. But the real big story. Yeah, the real big thing is, and I'm not trying to start any console war, but 1% growth is kind of embarrassing, especially when you're hanging your hat on the greatest, service in gaming, right? And being able to play on your tablet, on your phones, on your damn refrigerator, on your Peloton, whatever you think you can play on, right? That 1% growth should be a little embarrassing. And I know what you're talking about as far as
especially, not to cut you off, but especially when you bought Bethesda and now you're buying Activision, you would expect a more growth.
And you know what? That growth might happen. It might happen. See, the thing is, the acquisition is not complete, right? But at the same token, that the games that you are possibly going to get, you would have already gotten. You know what I'm saying? And so what the brilliant thing that Sony has managed to do is they, have managed to get these exclusive, timed exclusives third party, second party, and then of course with their first party, awesome games. But when you are able to provide something that you can only play on this one ecosystem, then that's what makes people invest in your system. And then they do an amazing job of marketing outside of Japan, in Europe, in South America, in Eastern Europe, all over the place. And so that's why the market share is there's such a huge difference between the two. And like I said, Nintendo just does a phenomenal job of cornering their market. They know that they're not really, as far as hardware aspect, they're not in competition with Microsoft or Sony. But what they do have is a stranglehold on every new fledgling gamer that and they just do, because that's a safe bet. And you always hear those silly, whenever you hear, it's sad to say, whenever you hear a tragic shooting or school shooting or church shooting, some pundit always tries to say, well, the video game industry, but Nintendo is into that because their games are family safe. They're safe, they're family friendly, and so parents feel great about buying their 4 or 5 year old a Switch and don't care that it's $50-$60 because their kids are fucking quiet in the back seat playing their damn Switch. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So yeah, you know what I mean? It just they did a phenomenal job at cornering that market. And at some point in time, if they decide to expand, that's when the challenge will happen, right? If they decide to expand with significant hardware improvements or more mature rated games, whatever the case may be, but they're just fine. But like I said, the real story is just the 1% growth. I mean, that's a little embarrassing. And Destin made a video the other day about sales in Japan, and I wanted to get your thoughts, Akira, because they're like, oh, Japan sales are up to 113,000, and I'm sitting there like, well, and I said something. Of course, they all came after me, but I was like, man, you guys are over here patting yourselves on the back, like, yikes. Yikes, 2.3 million units sold, and most of them were Xbox 360s, and you're congratulating yourselves? That's Microsoft's problem, is they put the cart before the horse every single time. They are so, and it sucks because it's kind of the American way, right? We are the sensationalists. We want to hear nothing good all the time, right? And we're very into the bravado and the spectacle of it all. And the only problem is they just don't have any substance to go along with all that bravado. And that's their doing. Like when Phil Spencer gets on stage and talks about we're the marvelous hardware, and we've got this, and we got the best games and the best publishers, but then you don't have the best games. You continuously get beat by supposed inferior hardware. Those they ring hollow.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's very what do you call this? I've always said, right? I've always said Microsoft is really the master of PR talk. They can
Oh yeah.
they can turn anything that may seem negative sound positive. For example, I'm gonna tell you something, right? So
Akira, we're gonna talk about Microsoft on that front. So I just want Drew's opinion, and then we're gonna go directly what you wanna say, because that's a different
yeah, okay.
subject that I wanna cover. Drew, what's your opinion on what we have discussed so far, and how do you feel about it?
With Nintendo,
Yeah.
yeah. Once again, I agree with what's been said. It's interesting for me personally because I also grew up on Nintendo. I grew up on those experiences. The NES was what got me into gaming. The Super Nintendo, the N64. I had a GameCube all the way up through that stuff. I had the Wii, but I don't think I've owned a Nintendo system since, in various handhelds throughout the years. The original Game Boy, had a Game Boy Advance, had a DS, and I'm not sure I went much further than that. Maybe a 3DS. I think I had a 3DS, but I didn't go. And I haven't gotten into the Switch thing yet. Primarily because as an adult, I've had less and less time to game, and I do prefer most of the experiences I get on PlayStation. Obviously, I go first and foremost to where the Final Fantasy is. That decides that is the number one decision in what system I'll buy. So PlayStation's right there. But I really appreciate Nintendo's approach to game development, and there are times I'll get a little irritated when discussing the grand scheme of gaming, and people will just call Mario and Zelda the best things ever over and over again, and I have a little bit more appreciation for certain franchises. You can guess which one that changes it up a little bit more than that. That dares to take some risks and change their identity. But ultimately, like, Nintendo also has a formula that's hard to deny, right? It's a lot like Marvel and the MCU. Like, you may not love it, it may not be your thing, and if it's not your thing, and you look over and you go, another Spider in the world, how the hell? But the people who are into it 100% get it, and it's the same thing with Nintendo. And like every year there's, I would say, actually what I should say is like once a month, for a couple of years it's been like, man, maybe I got to pick up a Switch so I can play this game or that game, and I don't end up doing it because I just have so much available to me on PlayStation. I've got a backlog as it is. I don't really need a new system yet. But again, Triangle Strategy comes out and I go, damn it, I really want to play that. I've wanted to play a Final Fantasy Tactics sort of spiritual successor for a very long time. As a huge fan of that game, and knowing that the only place I can get it is on Switch, it's one of these things where eventually I know I'm going to have to pick that up. And I know just from history that Nintendo makes fun shit. It's funny, that's like, that can't be their official slogan because they're very family friendly, but it should be. Like, we make fun shit. And it is really hard to deny that. I'm a huge Kirby fan. You know what I mean? Like, Kirby is, again, formulaic. It's been the same formula since the 80s, but they still find these ways to change it up and make it cool and fun and comfort. It's all comfort food, right? Nintendo is comfort food, and there's nothing wrong with having that. So I appreciate what they're doing. I'm sure I'll get my Switch here before too long, but I do think that the flip side of it is that why PlayStation is going to continue to be on kind of the king here is because they've figured out. And why Microsoft, and maybe that's the transition and the thing gets left out a little bit, is because Nintendo is like Ghost in the Shell was saying, is like, that's your entry point for gaming if you're new to playing games. Maybe you're young and you're getting into just the mechanics of having a video game controller in your hand and enjoying video games that way, and puzzles and platforming and all of these things that are kind of intuitive to us lifelong gamers, right? Nintendo was so good at that. And PlayStation, and most of the best games that you get on PlayStation, and people sometimes criticize them for this, right? For being movies, for being these interactive movies. But that's another entry point. They've figured out that people like, your fiance or your mom or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your uncle or whoever who maybe is never going to touch the controller themselves, but they might put down what they're doing and watch you play Horizon Forbidden West because it's just so beautiful. It's just so compelling. The characters are so good, so well written and acted that you forget that you're even watching a video game and not this like incredible sci-fi television show. And the action scenes are just your friend looking like a badass in front of you. I'm telling you, I'm having this experience right now with my fiance doing it. So it's like she's not playing the game, but she's experiencing the game. And that's why the PlayStation will remain a fixture in our living room because it provides that experience where I'm having a great time playing. She's also having a great time watching. An Xbox is a system that your boyfriend has in his dorm room and plays Halo with his buddies, and you're not really, what are you're gonna watch him play Halo? No one's watching that, right? So I think for me, that's why those two companies are doing so well, is because they both have a unique way of getting you in the door, getting that casual gamer to go from, oh, I saw a commercial for that and I thought it looked kind of interesting, to, hey, can you play more Horizon for me tonight because I want to see this, to, hey, can I try it out? How hard can we set this on an easy mode and I can go out and kill robot dinosaurs? Or maybe we get a Switch and say, play these games. And so, yeah, I think it's just good business practice and it's usually good game development. So I applaud them for doing that, and I don't really have much time to think about what Microsoft is doing or what. I have never owned an Xbox system. I love Halo. I'll say this one thing. I love Halo. I consider it my third or fourth favorite franchise of all time after like Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid, and maybe a couple others. But beyond that, I've never felt compelled to need an Xbox for any reason other than for Halo. And I can usually just borrow it long enough. And I haven't even played Infinite, and I don't feel the need to. So I'm good on Halo. Beyond that,
Okay. You broke it down perfectly with everything
yeah.
you said. Okay, are you back?
We gotta get a hug.
Who just talked right now?
Well, I don't know. Hey, real quick, Drew, it's funny that you said that as far as the entryways or the entry points. And I think you're spot on with that because there are my older kids, of course, grew up on Nintendo, and then they've transitioned into my more mature gaming. So, like, Nintendo has that gateway, the entryway into, like I said, holding the controller and finding out the mechanics, and then they gradually graduate to a bigger system or more, I guess, intricate system, as whether it be PlayStation or Xbox. Whereas, like you said, PlayStation kind of indoctrines you into this great quality game, and they do a phenomenal job of also, along with innovating their hardware too. It's just not stagnant where it's the same system, it's the same controller, it's the same this, it's the same this. They're always introducing, the DualShock or PlayStation VR or the PlayStation Slim or something different to keep you wanting to engage in their ecosystem. And I'm not saying that Xbox doesn't do that, but they don't do enough of it. They don't do enough of the games. They don't do enough of the peripherals. They don't do enough of the marketing to appeal to the masses.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
and
I
only. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'm
I just
sorry.
want to add. I just wanted to add to that. You did just real quickly. You just reminded me the haptic feedback in the PS5 controller is literally an excuse for me to say, "Hey, babe, come. You got to hold the controller. Shoot this thing and feel what it feels like to pull the Aloy's bow back and have it lock into place and then fire. Like feel that." And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's really cool, right?"
Yeah,
Like
the dual
the,
sense.
yeah,
Did
there's
you?
literally an excuse to get a controller into someone's hands who otherwise wouldn't before. 100% right,
Especially,
Ghost in the Shell. Just
es-
reminded me of that.
especially with the PlayStation 5 coming with the Ultra Boost. That's literally the install base, the best thing for a person to start with. Ultra Boost, a free game
Totally.
with a
Over here, girl.
controller in your
Blow on
hand.
the controller. I promise it's not a trick. Just blow on the controller. I promise it's not a trick.
Okay, do you have anything? Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I just now got back. So, what was
Okay.
your question?
The talk is, what is your thoughts on PlayStation being the market leader and how, despite everything that Nintendo is doing in a good way, they still lost 2% market share, and, and Xbox rose 1% market share, despite them buying Bethesda and now maybe Activision.
So, how do I feel about PlayStation being the market leader even after the acquisition news for Xbox?
Yeah, and also, why do you think Nintendo lost market share 2%, despite the fact that they're literally doing everything the PlayStation is doing? Yes, they're lagging behind.
Mm, well, I feel like most of Nintendo's games are um, family kid and um, And with PlayStation, they do some kid stuff, but they also cater to a lot of the older, like teenagers and like our age, older generation. And it came out. PlayStation came out like in the early '90s, and so all the kids are now grown up. So I feel like that might have to do with a lot of it, but at the same time, kids games sell really well. Um, um, let's see.
Heck, even a game like Animal Crossing was sold 40 million, I think? 20
Yeah,
million something?
yeah,
Like, Nintendo games sell amazingly. But continue.
yeah, and they put out Pokemon too. I,
So, and
I don't know what it is. Like they make huge, that make huge games. I don't know if it's like like the time in between these big games they put out. Um, I honestly don't know.
like, if you look at both companies are pulling out exclusive while the other company is literally doing nothing. And yet they still rose 1%, which is again abysmal, especially after the fact that they bought Activision. Well, Activision is a maybe, but they now own Bethesda, well, ZeniMax in general, and they still just 1% rose. Like, is that not abysmal in the business side of things?
Um, I mean, yeah. That's they acquired these huge publishers, and they only rose 1%. Um, but that's not to say that they'll keep rising though after games are put out. But then again, we don't know. Like it's hard to predict anything because it's been a while since either publisher has put out a really good game. Besides like Doom. But Call of Duty's Call of Duty. But
Okay, real quick, not only buying the big publishers, but also then, releasing Forza and Halo, which is two of the holy trinity of, Xbox games. And
right.
he comes in and still only rising 1%. That's, I don't know, just from where I sit,
Hmm.
that's a little embarrassing, you know what I mean? And
It
I
is.
don't know. Hey guys, I'm gonna be getting on a helicopter here soon, so I'll be home here in about 20 minutes. I'll be back on.
Okay, then we'll see
All right, man.
you in 20 minutes. Take care.
All right, yes sir.
Did did he just say helicopter?
Yeah,
Oh my
I was
god.
gonna say
he's going on a recon mission.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
It's like, yeah, no, me too. I'm also getting on a helicopter. Did he just
Yeah,
drop?
He said it. He said
yeah.
it.
He's getting his parachute ready right now.
He said it so
Damn,
casual. I'm like,
this man is
okay.
hardcore.
I'm like,
Fantastic.
He said that as if he was just getting into like a car.
Totally. Just getting on a helicopter right now. I'll talk to you guys in 20 minutes. I'm sorry. What?
Then you like hear the blaze.
oh my god. Hey, let me just.
He, he might as well have said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna hop on my dragon real quick. I'm gonna catch you guys in like 20, 25 minutes."
Yeah.
Oh my
I got side quest. I gotta clean up real quick.
Straight up, straight
Oh
up.
my god, he literally just said helicopter. I
This is a
fucking died.
helicopter, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Damn.
when ghosts come back, we're gonna bring them on this
I need a
helicopter ride.
helicopter.
Helicopter.
But
Fantastic.
talking about Halo made me well. I was gonna go there. Um, Here's the thing. There's console war. Console war is better. It's fun, but I like to talk about the actual reality. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. We're gonna talk about Square Enix. Don't worry, it's coming. Um, Halo is died a thousand deaths. Like even the most hardcore Halo fans now even admitting it. Not the way that I just did, because they need to sugarcoat it. So, I don't like to use names most of the time on here, but screw it. Paris. You all know Paris is the dude that if you disagree with him, he's gonna block you. This dude literally put out a tweet. Let me see if I can find it, because it's a funny tweet. So basically, he insinuated that Halo needed a delay and should have been released the way it did. That's all good and well. Okay, so I found it. And I love your tweet, Akira. Is it an April Fool Day? Yeah, it is, apparently. Didn't think I would be saying this, but here's the truth. Oh, so now it's the truth, Paris. Halo Infinite should have been delayed to lessen the gap for future content. Lack of campaign co-op, lack of Forge, lack of multiplayer mode, battle pass issue, strong launch, but this season is simply too long. This was absolutely not a strong launch. Excuse me, but the game launched abysmal. The only reason why it even had a quote-unquote strong launch is because Halo fanbase needed a Halo game. They didn't care what's in it, they just needed a Halo game. And after they played it and finished it, and they literally played multiplayer games where you are getting less XP the more you play the game. Like, look how unbelievable what I just said. You actually get less XP the more you play the game. How crazy is that? And that's how it was with the Battle Pass. And again, they ate it up. They were okay with it because it's Halo. And now he's saying this. And mind you, when we said this, he blocked us. He didn't block me because I didn't even bother to interact with this dude. Like this dude, I interacted with him before. And this is the same dude that Love says he doesn't do console war and hates console war and yet uses every opportunity to fuel console war. But that's nor here nor there. But he is not the only one. You had multiplayer lead for 343 leaving. If your company is doing right, and this is not a thing where you work on a project and now you're moving on. No, this is literally a project that you're gonna continue working on, which is literally multiplayer. So if you're leaving, hey, one of the two things: either you're unhappy or you found a better job, or you just want to leave. Those three things, at best. But I would not be surprised if it's the first one, or maybe it's the second one. But at the end of the day, Halo not only needed a delay, it needed an overhaul. I truly can't fathom how. Again, there were rumors, and I truly believe these rumors that Phil Spencer wanted to release Halo a year early when they first revealed it. Though you know that Craig memes, it's because of PlayStation fans and some Xbox fans and Nintendo fans and PC fans that Halo got a delay. I bet you money. I am not a gambling guy, but I bet you money. If not for the internet, Halo would have been released the way it is. I am willing to fight anyone and die on that hill. I'm trying to start with the least console war dude on here, which is Drew. I know you do your own thing with Final Fantasy and everything like that, but this is not about console war. This is about a franchise that was once the holy king for Microsoft, and now literally basically free to play game. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. Like I started talking about it, but since you're throwing me this pitch, I'll go ahead and swing real hard at it because that's exactly right. That's why I didn't end up getting the game. And we were talking about maybe we will have to buy an Xbox for this because I loved that original Halo trilogy so much. I've also really enjoyed a lot of Halo supplemental material, Forward Unto Dawn, the live action movie, and Halo Legends, which is kind of like an animatrix style collection of shorts set in the Halo universe. I'm very
Have
into
you
the
finished it, Mike?
concept. I haven't because I don't own an Xbox. I haven't in a long time, and it's it's really frustrating. And there were a couple of things that as it was getting closer to launch, and the big one for me again was the lack of co-op. That was always one of my favorite things about the game was that you could play through the story co-op, so that maybe if you weren't quite as skilled, you could play with someone who was, and or if you both were, then you could crank up the difficulty and have an awesome, challenge run or do whatever, and you could play with someone, and it could be a communal experience, and that was always an important part of the Halo experience to me, and I was looking forward to sharing that with my fiance. And so when I saw, well, they didn't have that, that's not in it. Then I saw it, kind of came out to some mixed reviews, and people talking about, well, and again, that it was open world, which for me is just another thing that's like, I don't, there are some exceptions, and you and I were talking before we came on here about how Horizon is basically the only open world game that I've ever managed to totally stick with and dive into and play for a bunch of hours and love and really enjoy. That usually with those big open world games, I find I just I can have fun for a while, but then I just lose interest. I just get lost, or I just don't care. I don't feel any forward momentum. I'm an old school linear story driven game guy, and so I kind of need an attachment to characters or a story. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? And to hear that there's less of that in Halo than there was, and so I just went, yeah, this one again is for me, and then I start hearing about all these other issues, and I go, yeah, this is definitely not worth spending, however many hundreds of bucks to actually buy the Xbox and then go and get Halo. As much as I love the series, I'm gonna watch the live action television show coming to Paramount Plus. I'm like legitimately excited about that. I hope it's good. I fear it might be bad, but like I'm gonna keep an open mind, and I'm gonna choose to really love it if it's good. But yeah, I can't disagree with the general consensus that, basically since Halo's moved away from Bungie, it's just it hasn't I don't know. I can't say it hasn't been good because I've chosen not to play those games. You know what I mean? I've read up on them, I've researched, I've done what everybody says whenever they're like, don't just trust reviews or do your own research or whatever. That's what I did for these Halo games. Once they moved away from Bungie, there was no longer an automatic purchase for me, and everything I read about them was like, yeah, I don't think this is for me, and so I've chosen not to play them. And I think that's unfortunate because I do love the series so much in so many different ways, and I'd love to see it come back. And I want, like you were talking about, the kings of gaming, these sort of pillars of the history of video games. And Halo was so important for Xbox and Microsoft's entry into gaming in general. And so it's kind of a bummer to see it just kind of languishing in mediocrity. Like it's a bummer.
Can you imagine if they gave Halo the God of War treatment? You know
Like a
how they
full
rebooted,
reboot, and yeah, I
how
that
they rebooted God of War, and
yes.
when you look at Ascension, I'm not sure if anyone here played Ascension. Like
Omar, you kind of low,
Ascension
bruh.
was the downfall of God of War. Like that was the least fun game for me. And now with 2018 one, like they're back on the roll. I genuinely expect. Am I too crazy for expecting God of Halo to get the God of War treatment? Like I truly, when I first heard Halo Infinite is almost getting a soft reboot, I looked at God of War. I'm like, okay, so they're gonna God of War it, nice. And from the look of it, they had a vision, but clearly something went up with the studio. But the issue is the head of Microsoft didn't go there and say, okay, guys, crash everything up and start over. No, he literally said, release. We were gonna release it the way it is, but because of the Craig meme, he opted to delay by 1 year. Like literally, they just put out a new update information. Apparently, you're getting 2 new maps, no forge, no co-op. Like, what are we doing here? But continue, Drew. Continue.
Oh no, I wrapped it up, but I agree with you. I'd love to see them reboot it, just start over because there are too many good ideas in Halo, and I talk about this all the time in Final Fantasy, and I feel like sometimes, us hardcore gamers tend to get into the weeds a little bit with some of the mechanics of things and like systems and all of this stuff, and it's great, and we should, and it's fun. Um, but I think a lot of the great games, and I would say this is true of Horizon right now as well, exist on the foundation of really good ideas, like fighting robot dinosaurs. That kind of thing. Final Fantasy games, like most people are most familiar with Seven, right? So you can say things like
Mm-hmm.
Midgar, Lifestream. These are good ideas. Materia, Genova, Ancients. These are just ideas. Weapon, right? One words, ideas. And
Zero
so I think
Dawn.
that Zero Dawn, right? Far Zenith, these concepts, Gaia of that world, the different Gaia from Final Fantasy VII, right? But
I mean,
these are great
you can
ideas,
fight trains in FF6, but fucking
right?
fight trains. Yeah.
And sometimes the ideas are that specific, totally, Akira, and that's where I think you know Halo is filled with great ideas. The Covenant, the Halos themselves, Forerunners, Master Chief is an
Blood.
icon of gaming. The Flood, keep going. Guilty Spark, right? These are great ideas. You could keep going. What are the big the brutes? The brutes, yeah. Like all this stuff is just super cool, and
Apparently, choosing who the next Master Chief is traumatic. It, it's
yeah,
dark. And
right. All the backstory with how you even become Spartans, right? How Spartans are made. That's dark and twisted and fascinating and an interesting comment on
put it in the
what you
game. Why
yeah.
is it only in the book? I'm
Well,
not a Halo dude. I never even played a Halo game in my life. But even I heard about the lore of Halo. It's like,
but you see what you just said is what has always gotten on my nerves about it, and it's the same thing. Honestly, it's very reminiscent of I know a lot of people are fans of like the older stuff, but Star Wars, a lot of the really cool stuff people I know that are into Star Wars know has nothing to actually do with the movies. It's it's all in a bunch of these books. Like there's dark places and stuff that Jedi's are afraid to go.
The
You know?
only one that maybe tried is gotta be Rogue One. Rogue
Yeah.
One's the only one that tried to portray that. 'Cause
Explore.
Rogue One is a fucking dark story. They all died. Just want to say it.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. They all fucking died. That country was obliterated. Sorry, that planet was obliterated, and they portray it in a way that you can feel it. I felt chills when I saw it myself, and they actually portrayed the battle that cannot be won in Star Wars. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why Rogue One is basically my favorite Star Wars movie because of that. That they were bravely enough trying to portray something that's actually hopeless, but
Yeah.
that they did it in a way that you can actually understand how scary the world of Star Wars is. It's kind of like the idea, right? Because in the other movies, it's kind of Yeah, you got heroes, you got Luke Skywalker who can fucking save everything and all that shit. You didn't really see the dark part of Star Wars, that they actually
Yeah.
killed and destroyed planets. Rogue One was the only one that showed it, where they're fighting a desperate battle. Badasses trying to save their own planet but failed in the end. That's why Rogue One tried it. Yeah, and again with Halo, I always wondered. From the lore that I've been seeing, it seems like in Halo, the Flood is the most interesting one. So I've
Mhm.
always been wondering that they never really properly explored in the games anymore. Last time, well, from the Halo channels that I've been watching, the last time they actually explored it to the most is Halo 2, I
Mhm.
believe. Halo 2 was the last one, and it seems like it's also the one of the most favorite ones. A lot of people, a lot of
Halo 2
Halo
is big
fans,
for
Halo
a
2
lot of
is the
people.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, from what I'm saying, I watched a walkthrough of playthrough of Halo 2. And I'm really impressed with how they introduced that the flood in that one. That was borderline survival horror. That was
Yeah.
borderline there, and I've always been wondering, this shit in modern graphics is gonna look so fucking cool. Why not? It's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've always wondered why they didn't do it. So yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's
hey!
interesting.
Before you go internet, look who we have. Morgan, you're
Oh
alive.
dear.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Apologies.
Welcome. Now continue, Nate.
No, I was just saying, like I said, I've always been, as a JRPG and RPG fan first and foremost. I'm always the harshest critic. I'm gonna be honest when it comes to story. So when someone plays a game and they tell me this shit's got an amazing story, like I feel like the game should speak for itself. Um, you shouldn't have to explain it, all this other stuff. I'm the same way with Mass Effect, and I think we've all seen with the Legendary Edition release, all these people who have finally experienced, Shepard's, story firsthand, and now they understand why a ton of us out here claim to be a part of the N7 and why it's so huge. And it's self-explanatory when you play through this game why it's so epic, why there's so much to it, so much choice and nuance, and like you really feel the world and the problems that are happening in this world, and you're a part of that story. And it's one of the best stories that BioWare has ever told. And when I hear people say that they feel like Halo is on par with that kind of stuff, like I'm like, I gotta see it, man. Like, I feel like there's bits and pieces, but like you said, like a lot of what I know, that when people really dig deep, it's the books and other lore
To the Lord.
fall into it. Yeah, that's where they're really getting all that, because like most of the time the only real thing that's famous from Halo is the damn song and the multiplayer. Like the story is it's there. Somebody got shot, somebody died, Chief slapped somebody up. Like it's very basic, like as far as like the way that people even remember it. And it's like I never hear anyone talk about that with like the other great story driven games that we've all loved. I could hear the amount of passion and understand even games that I haven't even finished, like hearing people talk about Final Fantasy VII, like the original. Like I completely understand the intricacies and why people love that stuff. And even some of the stuff with Star Wars, like I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but I have a deep understanding, and I've watched them all and seen why people could be that deep into it and how far it can really go. But it's like I feel like the lack of depth isn't really there, and then that on top of, like you said, with this current game missing the co-op, even I know that's intrinsic and super important to that series. So to be missing that and then missing it further, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's their console. That's why I say, they want to make excuses for it. I guess they're finally feeling like, like we said they should, months and months ago. But it's like this is what happens every time. Y'all let shit slide. Y'all don't want to speak up Y'all want to block people, because PlayStation fans, air quotes, they're just against us. You're just a hater. Meanwhile, I done played through most of the campaign already. I just, from all this fire that we've been playing lately, it's hard to go back to Halo to even bother finishing that campaign. But I played it, and it's like I had my opinions on it, and it's like, they can't even accept that. So, but yeah, man, I don't know what they are gonna do, but I know we gonna keep playing this fire. That's what we gonna keep
Yep.
doing.
Morgan, you wanna go the
Yes,
first?
sir.
How do you feel about this situation with 343? Are you
Yeah,
aware
I
what's happening or
recently,
no?
yeah, I am. I saw their posts about their next season two.
Not only that,
I would,
lead multiplayer for Halo left.
yes, I saw that too. I was like,
Okay.
oh wow, yeah. So it's coming out in May, I believe, this
Yeah,
season two.
something like that.
That's that's a ways like since it dropped in December, and I can't remember exactly. I think it was what, two maps and like another mode or something like that. I don't know. It just seems kind of like a long wait for not a lot of content, and then co-op's getting pushed back, delayed, and then Forge is also getting delayed, I believe. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just I don't. Like you've all said it. Like I don't know, 343, the way they've handled Halo. I mean, from the fans, they seem to really enjoy like it's
No,
the
no, no, no,
multiplayer,
no, no. Even
I guess.
this is why I said I named my what's called my title. Fans of 343 are revolting now. Even
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
fans are not
I
a fan
saw
of.
Paris' tweet.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Like
like
when
she
you
said,
lose,
now they are. But
yeah.
what,
Hmm.
like Morgan was saying, the observed, that they wanted to tell us prior was, oh, it's
Oh,
amazing. I'm
okay.
having so
I
Right,
much
yeah.
misheard that.
fun, and
Oh no, you're good.
whatever. Like it
I
was
misheard
everywhere.
you. Sorry about that.
No, you're
Yeah.
good, Omar. You're good. Yeah, but it's just like like everybody was warning people, like, look, don't get caught up with the flash. Like it's kind of bare bones. Like it doesn't have enough really content to hold people's interest, and you can tell that by honestly, even before this announcement of season two, just the way that Xbox fans have been acting on Twitter, just talking nonstop about PlayStation for like 3-4 weeks now, and I'm just like, I thought Halo was supposed to last y'all 10 years because y'all on here all day talking nothing but PlayStation, and just it's crazy. It honestly makes no sense. And I would honestly be upset if I was a Halo fan and I had to
Thank
wait till
you.
May.
Like I'm more pissed about it than actual Halo fan.
Yeah, I would be upset. I don't
You
know.
know why I'm pissed? Cause PlayStation always have a habit of following the other company with what they're
Yeah.
doing. So I don't want PlayStation to have as God of War or Horizon Forbidden West.
Right.
Thank God they didn't do it to Forbidden West. But just imagine Last
Yeah.
of Us 3, and they then say, okay, so everything we promised you with Last of Us 3, you played 1 and 2, nice. Well, 3 is a step back in
Hmm.
every way possible. Graphics,
Right.
visual, you name it, it's not there. But hey, it's free to play, enjoy. I don't want that.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't either. And I've seen Xbox fans try to deflect it, like, well, what about Last of Us 2 multiplayer? Well, what about the microtransactions in GTA? Like, it's just like like they just refuse to acknowledge the problem at hand, and they just want to deflect and be like, well, what about PlayStation? What about this? What about that? And it's just like you can tell they're hurt, but they just don't want to say it. They just want to
Yes.
ride this high. Like I don't know.
Can you imagine if you was in that camp?
See, I just no. I can't.
Um,
Like, yeah.
yeah. Okay. Are you back? I'm pretty sure
She
she's
may
still
not be.
busy. Yeah, she's busy. Yeah. Akira, now I can go to you. And he is away. So I'm
So
gonna
what was the
go
other
to.
what was the other topic I missed?
Yeah, so you missed if you missed the one with
Just run them down.
yeah, so you missed you and Morgan. You're gonna get your 2 cents in. The one with Activision. So apparently Activision is literally blaming Microsoft for their PR nightmare
Yeah.
and for the fact that women don't want to join their company and be on the director board and board of director anymore, and they're blaming Microsoft acquisition for that, and not their own cankerous work environment.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
weird.
yeah, I think it's pretty obvious why no woman wants to be on their board. I mean, the last one made it pretty obvious how she was treated. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna be breaking down the door anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think that had anything to do with Microsoft. It's just I feel like Activision's like, well, look, we can blame somebody. We can get the attention off of us and put it on somebody else. Like
Pretty
that's
much.
weird. Like Microsoft has a lot of women executives that work in
Oh yeah, Sarah
their
Bond.
yeah, like I might not be the biggest Xbox fan, but I'm not gonna lie. Like they're very
Hit and miss.
I would they make an effort to be inclusive. I don't know if whether it's genuine or tokenism, but the effort is
Nah,
there, I guess.
it's definitely a whataboutism. It's definitely to get what's called credit points, and I'm gonna cover that
Yeah.
in the next topic. But go ahead.
Oh no, that's my only point. But yeah, I don't agree with Activision that it's a Microsoft issue. Like I find that very hard to believe.
And the next thing you missed is PlayStation being the market leader,
Mm-hmm.
and Nintendo losing 2% market share. They're sitting at 26%, and Xbox rose 1% market share. They're sitting at 25%.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's abysmal for Xbox to just rise 1% market share when you literally bought Bethesda and you're about to buy Activision, and
I
you
mean,
had MLB the Show and the amount of time you pushed Game Pass. You would expect more people to be on the Game Pass hype train.
mm-hmm.
And how do you feel about all of that? Why is PlayStation still on top? Why is Nintendo uh, not on PlayStation level, despite the fact that they're doing everything right when it comes to how PlayStation is doing it, mostly releasing new IPs, releasing exciting IPs, uh, um, doing third-party deals, like for example, Triangle strategy game. It's only on Switch. You're not getting it on PlayStation. So why, despite all that, and also their games sell like a lot. Like look at what's the name of the game? Um, Animal Crossing. That shit
No.
hit 40 million or something.
Yeah, it did
It,
stupid numbers.
it did, yeah. So despite all that, they not even can't reach PlayStation level. They lost 2% market share.
Mm.
What do you blame? Who do you blame?
Um, well, for me, this is just all opinion, I don't know. But as far as Xbox goes, I think, even with the acquisition of Activision and Bethesda, ZeniMax, all that, none of it's really come to fruition yet, right? Like, none of their games have really entered Game Pass yet. I mean, the first two Bethesda games after the deal are exclusive to PlayStation for the moment, right? You have Deathloop first was last year, and now we have Ghostwire Tokyo, which is this month. And so none of the like this deal for Bethesda hasn't really bear any fruit for the Xbox community yet. So I don't see it. So right now that's not going to push any numbers for them for Game Pass or anything. And then with Activision, that might have, but I mean with the recent announcement that Microsoft made, like, hey, well, we got Activision, but it's not really going to change anything. Call of Duty's still going to be available on all platforms. Most Activision games are going to be available on all platforms. Like it didn't really turn the dial at all, like towards Xbox, and I think that pissed off a lot of Xbox fans too. They were like, "What the hell? Why?" But yeah. So until I think Xbox will gain a share, but it won't happen until maybe 2023, 2024, when Game Pass starts pumping out all these, promised games that they got coming out, the big ones, the Avoweds, the Fables, the Hellblade 2s, all that kind of stuff. But until then, yeah, that 1% is basically all they're getting. And as far as Nintendo, in my opinion, I think I feel like it's probably just new gen hype for Xbox and PlayStation is really why Nintendo isn't getting the bump. Like, it's just people too excited about getting a new PS5 and getting a new Series X. Like, Nintendo's going to come back. They're gonna rise back up. Like, their shares and their market share isn't going anywhere. I just believe it's just kind of people are distracted right now with shiny new toys. So,
So
but
basically,
because
saturate market saturation.
yeah, basically,
Yeah.
and because their IPs are selling like hotcakes, just like you said, Omar. Like, Pokemon is
Their
doing
console
amazing.
is selling like a topic. Like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Switch is for the
Like,
longest
watch
is
them come out
first.
with a Switch 2 or like a real new model, not like the OLED, but like an actual revision. Like, you will see Nintendo shoot right back up to the top spot. Okay, like it's just new machine hype right now. Like this new gen Xbox and PlayStation are just distracting the market currently, and that's just what it is. At least what I believe. Like I said, it's my opinion. I have no idea, but yeah.
Nah. Take that back. No, we're not gonna do that right there. It's your opinion, and you have an idea because it's your opinion. Stop. No, I hate that. No. That's genuinely something it pissed me off. Cause be confident with what you're saying, even if it's your opinion, even if you're wrong. So what? But
I feel you.
yeah. So with that being said, Nate, what's your take on what we just covered?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, like she said, I mean, you've got people out here. I think that the percentage share for Microsoft is pretty obvious. I mean, I think a lot of people, number one, are realizing finally, just like we said, how weak and insignificant the Series S is, like we said it was going to be. And it's already starting to struggle, and people are starting to see that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that whole flying off the shelf thing, it's not happening as much anymore. Yeah, people, they barely can find one of the newer systems, maybe, but I mean, I know a couple of people personally who had the Series S, and they're asking me even about like Elden Ring, and they were like immediately disappointed, and I was like, I'm
Told you
sorry,
so.
like
I told you so. That's what you
yeah,
told me,
like
right?
yeah, like I told you so. Like this is just the reality that we tried to put on you guys to understand. And you had people out here yelling all this nonsense. That it's $300 console that competes with the PS5 and this and that, and I'm just laughing the
Oh
entire
yeah,
time.
It was
Like,
supposed to.
I
It was supposed to be more
remember.
powerful, and
I
yeah, more
remember.
powerful.
I remember people actually saying that PlayStation 5 is not even on par with the Series S. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, funny how them real world facts is smacking people in the face right now.
Mm-hmm.
Reality a whole lot different.
with that sub 1080p,
Yeah,
I'm good
real
on
quick.
that.
Yeah, they're stuck at 30 FPS and people mad about it, threatening the
Oh
devs
yeah.
and shit now, all
Oh yeah,
kinds of
blaming the
shit.
devs. Like,
Yeah. Y'all
the devs are
suck.
like, wait,
Yo, there's no excuse. How would you know, Mr. Ain't developed a line of code in your life? Like, like, yeah,
oh man.
like this is what happens when people, you know, they start to break down and that reality starts to set in and they're just
Mm-hmm.
like, what's going on? I
And they're so
thought
confused because
confused.
it's like there's certain games that do what the series has promised, and then others that don't. But they don't understand that it's because specific engines work better for specific systems, and they're just like,
Exactly.
well, they did it on that game. They were able to hit 60 FPS, and we got upscaled kind of 4K. And why can't you do it for this game? And it's just like it's not the same.
Yeah,
It's not the
completely
same
different.
engine. It's different developers, different techniques. Like
Exactly.
they don't.
Yeah, everything
They,
requires a different amount of resources. It runs
mm-hmm.
through and uses the resources differently, and it's just like, I mean, it's just funny to watch. It's funny to watch them crumble, and that's mainly just because I told you so. That's really
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem being the I told you so guy.
Put then console aside and Xbox aside. What about Nintendo? What do you think? What do you think they are lacking?
I mean, Nintendo at this point is honestly just missing a new console. I mean, I'm gonna tell you that right now. It doesn't. Now, don't get me wrong. Nintendo could get away with literally being a serial killer
we know.
for all it mattered. So they could just sit on what they've already released and keep releasing good games. The problem is ultimately, like I said, the system is still struggling. Doesn't matter what people say. I really don't care what fans say. I had day one Switch. I was there day one before anybody was hype about it and all this other nonsense. I just got rid of my day one and I got the OLED. I've been in this game. The shit struggles to play the most basic looking game sometimes. 30 sub 30 FPS, and that is their biggest weakness by far. Like, just the lack in that area. And a lot of people would give it a pass and stuff like that, but there's a reason why the Switch is like the accessory console. It's never, it's very rarely someone's main and only console. And usually if it is, they're not, obviously not in the same wheelhouse as the type of gamers that we are. That's their biggest weakness. Performance by far.
Yeah. Then the final topic is, and I might go back to this one. Okay, so before, there's two topics. One, I'm gonna run through it very quickly, because one, I don't fuck with the game, and two, I like to call it how it is and hold PlayStation accountable. Like, PlayStation is not immune to what's called, and this is, which is the GT7 fiasco. And here's the thing, microtransaction reality. That's just reality. Love it, hate it, that's not my issue. Because my issue is literally them hiding microtransactions until their game were reviewed. Like, no, I don't want that shit. And I'm not okay with microtransaction being in games. Don't misunderstand me. We can't do anything about microtransaction being in game. That's just the reality of things. But you know what we can do? We can call them out for what they did with GT7, which is hiding microtransaction and then releasing them after the code after the game were reviewed. Like, I've called Ubisoft out on this, I've called Activision, EA out on this, so I'm for sure gonna call PlayStation out on this. I don't I don't love, nor do I need, nor is this practice ever acceptable. I'm gonna start with a person, one of the two people that's actually playing GT7, which is innate. One, what is your thought on GT7 as a whole? And then, what's your thought on the whole microtransaction fiasco? At second and third, what's your thought on PlayStation being scummy about it?
So Gran Turismo 7 so far is pretty much everything I want it to be. I mean, I love it from that standpoint. I mean, it drives amazing. The haptics are amazing. The graphics are ridiculous. I mean, it's back to being its name and living up to, the real driving simulator. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm still very early on. But I mean, like I said, I've been familiar with the series since literally Gran Turismo 1. I had originally had GT1 the week it came out, and I've played every single one except for Sport since then, because that one was specifically online when it started. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm loving it. You know, I got to get deeper into it, the customization, stuff like that. All that stuff is there. All the you know,
There we
minuscule
go.
tweaks and stuff that you can get into. Like, I mean, that's what GT is all about, and that's usually where I get into it. And that stuff looks crazy, and there's a lot of numbers on screen. It looks very scary. I'm not going to front. But yeah, all that stuff is there. The game has been nothing but amazing so far. Microtransactions, yeah, they definitely they need to at least. I'm not saying they need to remove them, because I know some people would like, you know, the option here and there, but it's clear that it's. I'm not going to fight data. You know, I'm the last person to fight data. You know, we're not Xbox fans in here. We don't fight data. We don't. You know, data shows statistically, on average, every quite a few vehicles have increased in price. That would cost, you know, $40 to $200 in some cases, if those other cars are true, to purchase them. That is ridiculous. That is unacceptable.
So
PlayStation really, really needs to reevaluate that shit. And it sounds like the other system they had in place, like I said, in Sport, I'm not familiar with it. I only seen it through the retrospect of reporting, where they stated where you could buy a car specifically for like $1, or up to like the most expensive car in the game for like $5 or something. So it was directly related to real life currency.
from what you have played so far, is it
Mhm.
did they make the game grindy, extra grindy than it was
I'm not gonna
beforehand?
say extra grindy, but GT's always been
Yeah. That's why I said
GT. Yeah,
extra
GT's always
grindy.
been wine and not beer. I always explain that to people. I was like, and this is a big difference between the Forza series that a lot of people aren't gonna like. Um, you
GT
know,
is a
it
sim,
takes
and
time.
Forza is not a sim, so that
Well,
by
no,
itself.
the other one is a sim though. The other Forza is
Oh, okay,
the
gotcha.
yeah,
Any
the
Forza
original Forza.
Motorsport or
Yeah,
whatever.
Motorsport. Yeah. So in both of those games, though, whether it's Motorsport or Horizon, getting cars is actually really easy. Like a lot of cars. Like I have literally probably every car in the game I want at this point. Um, and I did play the hell out of Horizon, but in the same time frame, like I wouldn't be nearly that close in GT. But like I said, it's always been a different level to the grind and stuff like that, and how you're meant to go through the game at a slower pace, really be methodical and think about, you know, tuning your cars and how things are supposed to really be. It's very, very different. I definitely think in some instances it's pretty obvious that some vehicles were boosted unnecessarily in price. I just really think they just need to reevaluate the market itself in the game overall, um, and make sure the prices are falling in line with respecting people's time. Um, because I think that's one thing where I will say that, to me, um, the creator or the team at Gran Turismo kind of has a disconnect with the current landscape, is that people have less time, and you want people to be able to get in and experience those cars and have a lot of fun with them, and you know, be able to really play around with the game like they really want them to. Like I said, I think you'll be able to do that to a point with a lot of the vehicles that are in the game, but um, I think the harder thing to realize is, like, we'll have a much better idea once we really get into the, I guess, the meta of it. You know, when we really start playing the higher end races and stuff like that. Because I mean, so far I've seen a race already that I have a vehicle for, that pays out 75,000, but that race is not easy. So 75,000 is pretty good. A lot of the cars aren't like multiple millions of dollars, but obviously there's a few, depending on how, you know, proportionate to how many of them there are and what you need in the game is going to be pretty crazy to experience. So I just think they just really need to reevaluate the market overall, and the time spent, you know, that it takes to get these things, and understand that a big gripe that I feel like they run into is the team is always very old school. Um, with the way that they designed GT, and that's fine. You know, we've all loved it for a very long time. But yeah, they could ease up a little bit on the grind, especially for some of the higher end content. People want to get to that. People want to drive the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris, you know, and the GT cars. And yeah, you can't have all these cars being, you know, $3 to $6 million or some crazy shit like that. So yeah, I think they definitely need to reel that back in and completely reevaluate the microtransactions for sure. Um, Now, as far as them hiding it, yeah, they were absolutely fucking wrong for that bullshit. That shit is not cool. They knew what the fuck they were doing. They knew it would be egregious, and they got caught after the fact. Um, so yeah, they definitely need to just come fully clean on that. And like I said, like address it accordingly, adjust them, make these adjustments, and you know make the game better overall. You know, economy wise for the game, and just kind of go from there. The game, like I said, though, the game itself has been nothing but fun, you know, and fully intact. It's just, yeah, it's an unfortunate uh, side effect of this ridiculous industry right now. So, yeah, no excuse though.
Do
Yeah,
you
no
think?
excuse.
Do you think we're gonna expect other people to call them out, or do you think they're gonna get away with it? Cause
I don't think so. I think it's already too big. I think they need to address it. I think it's pretty clear.
do
I
you
mean,
think
I've
they're gonna
seen.
roll it back?
I don't not necessarily going to roll it back entirely. Um, I think they just may adjust it because like I said, I personally don't mind them being there. The problem is like people said, you know, when in sport you had cars, the most expensive car being $5, and now you'd have to spend money beyond what the game is even originally costing is not proportionate. I think the problem is the proportions to everything, and the system they seem to have in place prior in GT Sport seemed to work. But I also believe they need to adjust the in-game economy to match that when they do that. So some of these cars potentially being like the legendary cars or something being like $20 million is ridiculously unacceptable. You don't earn money to that effect in Gran Turismo, even at some of the highest tier races. So that's ridiculously unacceptable. So yeah, I think adjusting it, the entire economy of the game is probably where they're gonna go and what they should do. Um, but you know, even like I said, even if they rolled it back entirely and there were no microtransactions, that doesn't stop that car from costing me 20 million. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I said they need to adjust both, whether they remove the microtransactions or reduce them or their costs or whatever and whatnot. I agree with that. If they want to keep them in there, then they need to reel that back and reevaluate that. But they also need to reevaluate some of the prices of these cars in game and making sure they're affordable and accessible, you know, in a timely manner so that people can actually have fun with the game and get a chance to drive these vehicles. So that as well.
Okay, gotcha. I'm gonna go with now a different pattern that I bet money doesn't even fuck with this game. Drew, I'm right? I think Drew. Oh,
He's coming.
Oh no. Oh yeah. With Gran Turismo stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. Not for several generations. No.
yeah. Okay. So then let me skip that. How do you feel about what they did with how they hid the microtransaction? Do you think that's acceptable?
Yeah. I mean, and obviously, we prefer they not do stuff like that, right? Like, no, that's not acceptable for me. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of
You
on the other
don't.
side of
I,
the.
I feel you don't care, but let me then switch it. Imagine if, like, for example, you're hype about Forspoken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if Forspoken comes out, reviewed well, and then later, after the game is reviewed, they come out and said, "Oh yeah, we have microtransaction and they pay to win."
Yeah, that obviously that sucks, right? And it all, and like you said, that last part is the most important part. It's and it's pay to win, and and if it makes the actual playing of the game regularly, like far less fun, knowing that to do what you really want to do, you've got to pay real world money for it. Like that just sucks. It's yeah, it's a brutal
That's
practice.
I was gonna say that's the only thing I would disagree with. It's not pay to win; it's pay to access. Because I will still beat that ass. So like yeah,
I'm
waiting on you
pay to win
because
is very different.
Sick humor, Persona, Guap, they're now all ahead of you.
And they're all also on the East Coast, which I pointed out, which is why I was
Yeah,
asleep.
we're gonna see your number. Post your
I was
numbers when you
awake.
see.
For instance, I was awake when Strictly got online this morning. Still, that's how late I was awake. So yeah, that's why they're all in that race, and I wasn't. But yeah, I wouldn't call it pay to win. Some people are labeling it that. It's pay to access, because yeah, you could definitely still people can access a Lamborghini and still get their ass whooped if they can't drive in that game. But yeah, I know what you mean. I agree.
Ow. What
Yeah.
happened? Sorry, my kitten was biting my nose painfully. Ooh.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Man. She don't like when you do the
So
podcast, bro.
yeah, no, I don't mind. So yeah, I expected. So the reason why I asked you, Drew, because this is like PlayStation never need you to do stuff like this. They learned from the worst, which is Activision, Ubisoft, you name it, they did it. So my fear is this is also why I always talk about Xbox, because when Xbox does something, PlayStation is gonna follow, and I don't want Xbox to do bad stuff. Then PlayStation is gonna do bad stuff, and then we're screwed.
Yeah, the cycle just
Yep,
continues. You
yep,
don't want to let it
yep.
perpetuate.
Nate, one last thing I wanted to ask you: is it
Hmm.
pay to win or not?
Well, no,
So,
that's what I was saying. Like I said, it's pay to access. It's
what
different.
does
You
that
you can
mean?
you can pay to access said vehicle. So if you pay, you know, $40, yeah, you can access that $3.6 million vehicle. But honestly, it may not even do you any good because depending on what you're racing, you can't even use the car. So like GT has a lot of Gran Turismo has a lot of restrictions and events. Like you can't just buy like the fastest car in the game and then go like race yard, a Toyota Corolla, and smoke them. So that's what I'm saying. Like yeah, like you're never gonna run into an instance where you're just doing that unless you're just having an open race with friends and someone wants to bring a Corolla and you bought, an 1100 horsepower vehicle. Like, yeah, you can have those instances, but that's why I said it's not pay to win. There's no car that's gonna make Gran Turismo easy.
Yeah.
But the problem, like I said, is you also don't want these cars that are high end, that are part of the Gran Turismo experience to be so expensive and feel so inaccessible that people don't even want to put in the effort to get them. So
The
that's why I'm saying it's dangerous.
it's not pay to win, Caraba. Again, Gran Turismo. You can drive the fastest car in the game, you can still fucking lose. So it's not. It's just not pay to win, right? I like how Ananta said it is pay to access again. It's
Yep.
really only in Gran Turismo. It's basically racing games in general. You can
Is
drive
it
the
the
fastest car that you want to drive. You can still lose.
I will say
Is the thing.
though, so this is the experience that I have with this is actually through sports games,
Mm-hmm.
and it's there is a ceiling for me in the mode where you're right, it's a different thing because like in the ultimate team mode, which is the most
Oh, that's
competitive
definitely pay
mode,
to win.
it's like, but here's the thing though, right? I can beat most normal players who have a much better team than I do, right? They've bought all the best players, they've got a much better roster than I do, but I can beat most of them
Yeah, you still got to bring that
until
skill to the table.
right. But
Yeah.
there's a certain point. I hit a level every time where I'm like, no, this person is also good and has so yeah, I just can't get past a certain point because they can pay for a much better team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's kind of it's like there's a skill element to it too, but there's a ceiling. So is that not the
Yeah,
case
okay.
in Gran Turismo, where it's like
That is possible as well, of course.
because if someone's good and has the better car, and you're good but can't afford the same car, they're going to beat you 9 times out of 10, and that
So
kind of
the
sucks,
reason I say it's
right?
different there though is because like okay, so like for instance, right, a really good example. I was in chat with Strictly and them the other night, and he was trying to do a race, and it requires like a GTR4 car, right? All GTR4 cars are within a certain spec. Like yes, like Team Lamborghini has won like the last 6 events, but that's because their drivers are better. But there is a certain spec limit within a range where your car can be tuned, what your car's horsepower can be, stuff like that. So if someone's beating you in Gran Turismo, the difficulty and that like the skill is not only your driving but your tuning ability. So that's why I say like there isn't really a better car as long as you have the car to enter the race like with within that range, then you have the chance. That car, the person's car may be better than yours, but it's not about the price, and that's why I say it's not pay to win. It's not the price, it's the tuning and all the other stuff that starts to come into play. Because like I say this as someone, like I said, I've played it for generations, and I used to profusely,
Oh, you
before
already.
online was
Sorry.
even a thing, profusely race my older brother, and we would
Hindi
race
kasi,
and race and race like a skyline,
masisira
and
siya
he
kung hindi
would
mo siya
tune
sa
it
labas.
and
It,
change the
Kumakain ka na agad.
downforce
wait,
slightly.
Akira, let Inay talk.
I think he's trying
Oh,
to talk in
sorry,
the
sorry,
background.
sorry.
But no, like he would make slight changes and adjust his wing, so that his downforce was better, and he'd have slightly more oversteer. And we would race on a different track, like Laguna Seca or something, and that little edge of oversteer would make the difference, and he'd be able to cut on the inside and take me. Like so that's why I say it's like it's never really pay to win in that regard. Um and because I know what you're saying, before Ultimate Team and stuff like that was even a thing, back when I used to play Madden and stuff like that, yeah, I'm sorry. My 99 player would run circles on the field across people. So yeah, that shit was always like once that started to take place in like Ultimate Team, that shit could definitely be pay to win because I've seen how good some of the soccer players are in real life and know how they get rated in game is insane. In some of the stuff with Ultimate Team, so I would still definitely say that could still get you to a point of a pay to win, like you said, and like you said, if someone just completely sucks, it doesn't matter what their team's got. But I think that falls closer to pay to win than GT ever being anything like that. And that's like I said, that's ultimately because of the limitations and stuff that's in place in the games, in the game itself and the categories. Um,
Guys, I
yeah,
need to go. Sorry.
yeah, no
Take
problem, man.
care, alright?
All right, later, Akira.
Now, I'm gonna go to Akira. Now you can say what you want to say.
He just left.
Oh,
He had to
oh.
go.
He said
Yeah, I
he had to
didn't.
leave.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
he got baby duty.
Oh, okay. That explains once you were talking then.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna go to one of the ladies. Morgan, are you a GT player
Uh,
personal?
I am not. I am not. I'm
She's
not a
gonna be
Yeah.
a
racing
G,
fan.
she's gonna be a GT watcher.
Yeah, I just watch.
She's gonna watch me
I
Okay,
just
play.
watch Nate play.
so then put it aside. How do you feel about PlayStation being so scummy about it?
Yeah, about that. Like, if that's true, like they hid the fact that there's microtrans or egregious microtransactions, like after the fact. That's very fucked up, and I think PlayStation should address that, and that's not okay. Like, we got to hold them accountable. Like, I don't care that we have preference for PlayStation. Like, they don't get a pass just because I prefer their platform. Like, that's not okay. Like, if
That's
we let
how we
this shit
do it.
slide, like they can just they're like they test the water. That's what these companies do. They test the waters. They see how far that they can push us before we bite back. And so like nah, that's not okay. Like you know, I don't
And
mind microtransactions. Like I personally don't like them, but you have to at least be upfront about it. Like let me know beforehand that okay, this is the thing, this is how we're going to implement it. This is the way that it's going to get done. You know, lay it out. Like, don't hide it, because it just makes it look even worse on the company. If you like, why are you hiding it? Like, what's the reason behind the secrecy? Like, why was there a need to not mention it beforehand?
Gotcha. Hey, I know you're not a GT girl, but how do you feel about GT? If you care to say about it, or just about the whole microtransaction fiasco?
I'm on the same page as Morgan, in every aspect. Like them not saying anything up front, I feel like it was a form of deception to the players, and they were being disingenuous and not honest. Because I think they knew that that people would not, they would make a stink about it, and they would rather, you know, not say anything and then surprise test the waters, but like surprise, and they already got your money, you know, and so they felt like, well, if they like they won't make a big of a stink about it if they enjoy everything else about it. But it's having microtransactions. It's the fact of having that in a game that, you know, most people don't want them in you know, in the games, because, you know, give them an inch and they'll take a mile, and that's the problem with microtransactions, because they just do not stop once they get going.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's literally a slippery slope. I really wished Rome was here so he could his perspective on it, because I know him, he is always calling out Ubisoft and EA and stuff like that with their actions, so we needed someone like that. Ghost in a Shell, before we go to you to any topic, my dude, did you just drop in? Oh yeah, I'm just about to get into my helicopter.
So all hands on meeting in Nashville. So it's a 2-hour drive from where I'm at. So my company sent a helicopter for me, and then when I was leaving work, I took the helicopter back home. So that's not my personal helicopter.
All right, Batman, I see you.
Dude, you dropped it. You dropped it so casual, like
I
Drew
just got
said
off the
it.
chopper, you know, real
Imagine
quick.
saying, "I'm just gonna get on my dragon and see you in 20 minutes." Like, I only said okay. I'm like, okay, so it got. I'm like, maybe I misheard you saying helicopter. I'm like, let me ask around, and yeah. Sure
This
enough,
man said the
you
whisper craft showed up
actually
outside.
said helicopter, which we spent almost like 10, 15, 30, no, 10, 2 minutes, 3 minutes laughing about it in a good way. And came to the conclusion, yeah, you're living that life, dude. Keep doing
Man,
it.
it sounds awesome, but like I said,
Nah,
my
it's tiring. I know. I'm just joking with you.
I travel so
Well,
much,
you
and
still had to get the hell up and go to a meeting and fly in a chopper and do all this when you rather just be sitting there playing the game. So yeah, you right.
Hey,
like
at least there are no traffic.
True.
that's the beauty of it. It's like national traffic is horrible, and then yeah, trust me, it's nice. You know, I'm retired Army, and so like I worked on helicopters when I was enlisted, and then when I became an officer, you know, I was in charge of a whole, you know, a flight deck of helicopters. So it's just it is very natural for me just to cash my bad guys. So uh, trust me, you do not you do not want my job. You might want the pay. You do not want it. I'm going to retire here in probably the next 2 years. I'm especially with what's going on over in Ukraine. Like I'll be in Poland next week, and it's just one thing after another. So, and my job, the shelf life is very short too. So, it sounds awesome, and I'm grossly overpaid. But at the same token, I miss a lot of time with my family. I miss a lot of gaming.
Oh yeah,
You know,
you definitely do. You definitely do
and
miss a
so
lot of gaming.
I'm looking forward to it, and my wife's looking forward to having me home. So yeah. All right. So what's the topic?
Somehow I have the feeling that even after you're gonna get retired, I don't think you're gonna have a lot of gaming, because your wife's
Oh
gonna
no,
say,
no.
"Okay, now you need to fix this. Now you need to do that. Now you need to do this."
Yeah, we've got projects. We've got a bunch of horses.
Yeah.
I live on a farm in Kentucky, and so we've got tons of horses and cattle and stuff like that. So I'll be farmer ghost, I guess.
With that being said, let's cover GT. You're playing it. How do you feel about the game? What are your thoughts on PlayStation being scummy about the microtransaction fiasco? How they hid it from the public and from the reviewers? And what are your thoughts on microtransactions in general in GT?
Well, I love the GT series. I've always been a fan since PlayStation 1, so big supporter of it, of the game. I'm having a blast. Like I said, I'm concentrating on getting my licenses for the game, and then getting into the multiplayer and dusting anyone who wants some. Um, the the microtransaction aspect of it is very scummy. Um, and the perception is very bad because it makes. I mean, there's no perception. They blatantly hear that from the reviewers and then spraying it upon us. It is almost status quo though, because I mean I guess especially online service game or online game, always online game, is going to have some form of microtransactions. I'm not in agreement with it. Sony's already got my money, so I'm not going to spend any more money acquiring cars, especially cars that I can earn. And even though some of the super hyper cars are astronomically expensive, and I agree with Nate as far as revamping the economic system in it. They've got to do that because go
I
ahead.
have a question, and I'm gonna get flack for it, but I always keep it real. Um, so you just said because of your work, you're missing a lot of gaming time, right?
Yeah.
Would someone like you not find microtransactions helpful, or you actually want to earn? Like again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or whatsoever, but it's like
Yeah, you're
microtransactions is
asking because that's the
literally
point of microtransactions is
exactly that's what I was
let
about to
I got
say.
more money in less time. Yeah.
It's literally like, yeah, you just said you'll get overpaid, so you a person with the money to buy everything you want, and especially with someone like you, time is money. Would it not benefit you to actually use microtransaction for your own benefit? Again, not to trying to be disrespectful here.
Yeah, you're
If
just curious.
if if I wasn't a gamer, I don't believe people that access like or pay to access or pay to win. I don't really even count those dudes as gamers. I mean, that's defeating kind of the purpose of gaming, right? And or experiencing the game. If I was just to go there and buy every car, then doesn't that take the novelty? Doesn't it take the the experience away when you do that? So I'm a huge 2K fan, right? Huge 2K. I play it daily if I get a chance. Um, I could spend money to buy VC all day long, right, and hype my player up, but instead, I spend. The games come out in September, and I play, my player, and I don't buy any VC, and here I am. What is it now? Game came out in September, and it is March, and my player just now hit 99. You know what I'm saying? I'm in my second
Yeah.
season. So me, I play them, when I can, to experience the game in all its entirety, and I'll do the same with entirety. I'm not pressed to hurry up and perform better or play better. I've got my huge backlog and games I have bought and haven't played yet because I will eventually get around to them. Time is on my side, right? Because it's just how I play. I'm a very methodical gamer, I guess. With the few precious hours here and there that I have to play them, I want to enjoy them. But I can see how you would say, like, someone in my situation may pay to win or pay to play. I just don't believe in it.
But see, like,
This-
I think he'd be much more amenable to it in certain situations, right? If it was like that $1 to $2 for a specific vehicle, and like he just got back from, I don't know, NASA or wherever the fuck he be at, and we were all about to play, and he doesn't have this specific car, in this category, and we're all about to play, he might just be like, all right, you know what? What's $2 right quick, for me to access this, because I don't have the money, and I got enough time to play with the squad for a little bit. I feel like that's where the sweet spot is for microtransactions. Like, as long as he's playing, he'll have the money and all, and he has the time to get this stuff, and without spending a gross overestimation of time in a game like Destiny, where they want all your time. And that would make it much more amenable, where it's like, I'm gonna just get this one car or something, but like, as long as he feels, and he's, like he said, his mentality in the game is to get to that point. You know what I mean? Like, I talked to some of the homies, that like you said, they make the bag. They got the bag, but I love when they're like, "Nah, I'm not buying this," or something like that, and I'm like, "But why not? Because you can." And they're like, "Well, yeah, but I don't want to." Like it's different. Like the mental about, like you said, being a gamer or in that state. Like, I want to earn this, is very, very different. So I definitely know where you're coming from in that. But I feel like it would be a lot more amenable if it was something like the previous microtransactions were. Like I said, $1, $2 for this right quick, and it gives him the access, and then he could jump right in with us, in that particular instance.
No, but he clearly loved the gaming aspect of it.
Despite
the fact that he doesn't have enough time. And despite the fact that he got the money, he preferred it to play it than actually pay for it. So, like, that, okay, with all due respect, that's fucking insane in a good way. Because most people with less than you, less money than you, more time than you, and they still buy microtransactions. So big shout out to you, Ghost.
What was dope about that I love about that with Ghost and other people I know that, like I said, make X amount of money per year, they will not spend the money on that shit, but they'll turn right around and buy a game for someone that couldn't afford it. Because that's what it's really about. We all want everybody to be able to game, and that shit is lovely for us, to be able to give back like that. I know Ghost knows what's up with that.
I know who you're talking about, and he have not done it with one game, he have done it with several games now, with several people. Like, this dude is genuinely one of the best dude in the community. And the only reason,
but that's what I'm saying, it's not even just him though, specifically, but like lots of people I know that have done it. Yeah, so it's like, but we have all done it. That, like, I feel like that's where we'd rather spend the money. You know what I'm saying?
They're also not doing it for clout or anything like that. They just want to give back for the community, which is, again, awesome.
Yeah, if you share a passion with someone that's that deep, and what it's like to have that game day one that person was really looking forward to. So you want to be able to share that.
I wanted to have one more topic, or rather two topics. But the thing is, this came up, and I really want to cover it. I saw a tweet. This person said the fact that Elden Ring scored a 97 Metacritic is proof that reviewers don't give a flaming poop about game UX. What is UX?
Should be the UI. UX is like I don't know why people use UX, but UX is usually referring to the UI.
Okay, so apparently this is a game developer, that's saying that my life is a lie. This what I was afraid of.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me correct that. Hang on, let me correct that. So apparently, in his regard, that person is referring to game design.
Okay.
That's what the UX is. He's referring to
Gotcha.
the player meets basically game design. So basically, what we refer to as game design is what he's referring to.
Just 1 second, I'm trying to look him up because I want to see. He might be a game designer himself.
Yeah, I think
Because,
that's what he's talking about. He's basically talking about like gameplay mechanics or gameplay elements and
yeah,
stuff.
okay,
Basically, everything that encompasses, if there was a category for game design, like
okay,
every little decision that equates to what we do
mm-hmm,
in the game.
okay,
So he's saying
gotcha.
he feels like the game design in that game is bad,
Yeah, okay.
which
So,
I
another,
can't
yeah,
disagree so far.
yeah, so we're gonna talk about it. Another person chimed up, this one is a lady. Nor
Hmm.
PC graphics, stability, and performance, apparently.
Hmm.
And this one is where people are gonna focus on, of course, and which is actually a third person said, Northwest design really. So, and this one is a senior quest designer at Gorilla Games.
Mm.
So you're gonna know for sure they're gonna jump on it. But
And that
here is
just to notate something, that person also was, if this is this should be the person that they pulled in from that worked on The Witcher 3 as well. So
okay.
they pulled in a quest designer from The Witcher 3 to
Oh,
work on that as well. So if that's the same person, then I mean, honestly, you're talking about the one of the people who's been on the teams
no,
where some
this
of the
is
best side quests in the games have been.
no. This is a senior quest designer at Guerrilla Games, Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. Past projects including ASO. I don't know what ASO means. Star SWTOR and Epic Mickey. Yeah, no, he never worked on.
Okay, so
Uh,
that's not the guy.
yeah, no. But
Okay, just making sure.
here is the thing. I just trust PlayStation, right? I just destroyed them for that microtransaction situation. I am
Hmm.
actually going to defend this dude right now. Not because it's PlayStation. Because you have one company setting the bar high. Visuals, voice acting, uh, fidelity, pushing their game to the next level. When you play Forbidden West and you play Horizon Zero Dawn, you know you're playing a two different game. And I'm not talking about reusing animation. I'm talking about tackling every single shit that your previous game had, which is bad melee. We fixed that. More machine to ride. We gave you that. Bigger exploration. Get underwater. Get somewhere. Get somewhere else. You're gonna play. See for yourself. More enemies, you got. We gave you that. More weapons, we gave you that. The fact that you are picking too much stuff, you want a box stash, we gave you that. So this is literally a company that checked every single box that we as a fan base asked from them in a feedback, respectfully. Yet,
Yeah.
when you have Elden Ring sitting then at a score at 97 or 98, and you have a game like Forbidden West that's literally Horizon Zero Dawn but on steroid, time 2, time 3, time 4 even, sitting
Hmm.
at 98, 18, 89. Like, that must make you feel uh, demoralizing in sense of, like, this what I was afraid of. Companies that pushing themselves, developers that pushing themselves to the limit and even beyond, and not getting the recognition they deserve. And I actually agree with him. When you compare Horizon Zero Forbidden West vegetation versus Elden Ring vegetation, night and day, when you compare the aspect of open world in Forbidden West versus the aspect of Elden Ring open world, night and day. If you see it, You can get there in Forbidden West. If you see it, you can't get there in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And here is the thing. It's a different genre. Fair enough. But when you have a company literally doing triple the amount of stuff that the other company is doing it, just assume a miserable grass you walk through and it doesn't react. People are shitting on that in Ratchet and Clank. Yet literally in Elden Ring, you walk through grass, you walk through everything like there is no physical reaction, and it's okay, cause it's Elden Ring. It's a full franchise. They get away with it. Here is the end of my rant with what I'm trying to say. At some point, as a developer, you're gonna ask yourself, why should I put the time and effort into doing everything the way that I'm doing if people are getting recognition and getting cheered for less? What did he say wrong or untrue when he said no quest design really, and the other said
Well, there's
no?
a lot of that pisses me off, and I've said this, that a lot of Souls fans make excuses for what is essentially bad game design. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, that's how the Souls games are. It's just absolutely amazing, and it's just wonderful to just be able to explore the world and have no direction at all. You
Or
see what
the
I'm saying?
fact that your hate box is so bad. I talking to you what's his name, the Titan in what's the name of that game? Sekiro. You know the game that won Game of the Year. The hate
Yeah.
boxes with the Giant is some of the worst I have ever seen. I'm like I'm not 2 meter, I'm exaggerating, but I'm a far ahead of him and I roll and he still grabbed me. I
Yeah.
played Forbidden West now for 120 hours. Not one time did I die to a hitbox. That was, I'm like, not fair. If I die from a hitbox, it's because I was in the line of fire.
Yeah, but
It,
these are the things that we notice as gamers, and that's what I said is part of the problem with a lot of these people who are being called reviewers. A lot of them don't even have as much gaming experience as we do, to really understand what they're supposed to be even analyzing. And then you've apparently got some of them barely even touching games, and then just going with the consensus, writing their reviews essentially off of what everyone else is writing. So you get a bunch of aggregates like you get with something like Elden Ring. Like, like half the people on there, where even if they felt a lot of what we're talking about, they're not going to say anything because, like you said, you start running into the, too afraid to call out certain games. And it's the same thing I said for Nintendo. Nintendo has this kind of zone where it's like you're not allowed to criticize a Nintendo game X amount of, like, a certain way down. Like, you cannot really like it, this and that, but if you were rating it, like, there's certain games where they're like, if you really felt like it deserved, like, I don't know, like a 7 or something, like that would be like egregiously low from fans, from stuff like that. So yeah, it's a mess, man. The whole system is a mess.
it, the reason why I'm so mad again is because uh, I'm gonna say something controversial, and I'm curious what the guys think. After playing Horizon Forbidden West, I feel Guerrilla Games might actually have taken the throne from Naughty Dog when it comes to visual, or more like um, open level, not level design, creativity. Let's just say that. Like you got the plat, Nate.
Yeah.
You know the Cauldron, how fucking amazing they are.
Incredible.
Like,
Some of the best shit I've ever seen in a game.
Exactly. Like, every single Cauldron, my jaw is literally on the floor time 20. And that, I was literally playing the final Cauldron, not the one that's story focused, literally the final one where you need underwater to be underwater. And my jaw was literally on the floor more times than I can remember, and that's when it dawned on me. Not Gorilla Games literally took the throne from Naughty Dog. Um, Before we go to that, I'm curious what your guys' opinion on what the developer just said. Is he in the wrong? Yes or no? I'm gonna start with Drew.
No, I'm in complete agreement. I am of the look. I've been having this fight with Elden Ring and Soulsborne fans all week, and it's frustrating because I love video games and I have my whole life. And whenever something is as critically acclaimed as these games are, I feel like I want to try them out. You know, I told you I was a Final Fantasy guy. I've always been a JRPG guy. I like fighting games too, but I got into Halo because some friends challenged me. Like, I know you don't like first person shooters, just try it out. I love Halo. A similar thing happened with Metal Gear Solid, right? But there's a weird thing happening now, and I think Innate was kind of getting into this, where video game reviewers, like, I get it. They play hundreds of video games every year. And so they tend to gravitate toward these experiences that are different in a certain way. And they don't like what they would call the hand holding because they don't feel like they need it because they play 100 video games every year. Most of us don't have that kind of time or investment. And so they really appreciate the Soulsborne experiences, and fine. But for me, and I've tweeted about this from the Final Fantasy Weekly account a couple of times. Like, Guerrilla Games with Horizon, and particularly with Horizon Forbidden West, went out of their way to make a game that's enjoyable for anybody in just about any way. And these Soulsborne fans keep telling me that to provide an easy mode so that somebody like me might be able to enjoy their games would be to compromise the vision. And I go, okay, fine, stay true to your vision. But these guys over here, Guerrilla Games, went, we want everyone to be able to play our game. We'll give you all kinds of modes. We'll give you all kinds of options. We'll give you a bunch of different weapons in the game to play it. We'll make it open enough so that you can run around difficult enemies. We'll give you the ability to grind if grinding is what you're familiar with. We'll give you the ability to master a skill set if mastering a skill set is what you're familiar with. We will give you a deeply engrossing world. And so ultimately, I agree. Is that not better game design? I find it perplexing. I've had people tell me, like, hey, man, 89 is a good score. You know, get over it. It's not like it got a bad score. I'm sorry, but for me, and I'm somebody who heavily favors the Final Fantasy franchise and story-driven games, and I don't even think I'm quite to the halfway point of Horizon Forbidden West. It is truly, in my estimation, one of the greatest video games ever made in all of its aspects, in its visuals, in its voice acting, in its regular acting, in its gameplay, but also importantly in its approachability, in its ability for anyone to be able to pick up and play, have fun, intuitively understand what it's about, set it on a breezy story-based mode if that's what you want, but still go after those huge machines that are well past your level point, or get into a mix with like 5 or 6 at a time, and all of a sudden it's a challenge no matter what level you're on. So it can be this great challenge, and it can be a story-based game. It can be full of side quests and exploration. You can turn, by the way, all of those things off. I've heard a lot of people say, well, Elden Ring is better than Horizon Forbidden West because there's no checklist in Elden Ring. You've just got to explore. It's like, dude, turn the checklist off. Problem solved. What Horizon does is give you more options. You can play it however you want. You can tailor it to your experience. And if you want to spend all day exploring the beautiful landscapes and talking to every person that's got a rumor and doing every cauldron and doing every rebel camp, you can do that. But if you want to play it like it's an old school Final Fantasy game and go straight down a linear path from storyline quest to storyline quest to storyline quest, you can do that too. And that for me is why, without even playing Elden Ring, and maybe sure I'm biased in that way, but Horizon's the superior product from a game design standpoint for that reason, because they designed a game that can be enjoyed by people who want any kind of experience, from various difficulties to various levels of exploration or more linear. If you care about the story, maybe you only care about the combat. You could sink 200, 300 hours into this game and never finish the story. If you're not like me, I'm going to try to get to the end fairly quickly. But if you don't care about the story and you just want to challenge yourself, fight the biggest, baddest, wildest dinosaur robots out there, then that is your Horizon experience. I think Guerrilla Games has done really actually something very special here. And I'm most frustrated by the reviews that criticized it for these very things. Like saying, oh, it's got the checklist in it. It's like, you can turn that off. But for someone like me who wants to go through a little more quickly, the checklist is very helpful. You know, they kept everyone in mind. And for that, I think they should be applauded, not criticized.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my take on it.
It's the same.
Yeah, good. What do you want to say?
But the same people that are praising, Elden Ring, and saying that oh, we like the lack of direction, or we like how difficult it is because it's a Souls game, are the same people that were begging Returnal for easy mode.
Oh yeah.
For begging, and Returnal got for me, Returnal was my game of the year, right? Oh, it's too hard. Sifu's too hard. Hades is too hard. But then you get a game like Elden Ring, and there's a particular person in mind, but I'm not gonna say any names. He's not here to defend himself. But like for me, I was on a podcast earlier this week, and I was like, man, I'm so disappointed in Elden Ring. I feel like I got bamboozled, right? Because I was stoked. I pre-ordered it. I was hyped. Turned it on. Got the holy shit kicked out of me, and I was like, ugh. But then because I'm a visual person, right? I spent this $500. I bought multiple PS5s, so I spent several $1,000s on PS5s for all my kids and shit like that. And so what I want from my next gen console are all the things that you're promised with the visuals and the gameplay and the DualSense support and the innovative gameplay like the Ratchet, that Returnal, hell, Sifu, Astrobot, even what I'm saying, brought to this system. And then I boot this game up and I'm playing it and I'm like, did I turn on my PS4? It's not visually impressive to me. The same gripes that people had about like Karaba said about clipping through grass and the sound effects. I mean, the sound is unimpressive. The glitches that I did have were ridiculous. And then just in my mind, you fight these huge bosses, and they're somehow magically more agile than you are. It just blows my mind, and I deleted it off my system 2 days ago. I was like, oh man, From Software, you won't get no more of my money. That was my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And so I was not impressed. But then when I was in this podcast, some of this person was like, well, it's an open world game. From Software has never made visually impressive games. And before I got a chance to jump all over him, exactly, before I got a chance to jump all over him,
but
no, exactly. And Strictly said, I mean, that's an excuse, because then you look at games like, okay, fuck it, Demon Souls.
I was about to say that. I was literally about to say that.
If you, truth be told, Sekiro, visually impressive. You know what I'm saying? Gameplay is different and intuitive. But you know what I'm saying? And so there's nothing that this game does new for me that Demon Souls didn't do, that Dark Souls 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3 didn't do, that Bloodborne didn't do. And so I was like, damn, I really felt like I wasted $70. And then when you see these reviews, these reviewers and their comments, they're just like, oh, it's just a breathtaking masterpiece. And I'm like, where?
Yeah, where that at? I missed that one.
Yeah, I missed it. I mean, I've got an LG C1. This PS5. Where? I really thought I booted up my PS4, and I'm talking about first generation PS4 too. Like, and so I'm like, it just did not impress me, and I just am dumbfounded when you get 97s, because for the time, I can honestly see why Breath of the Wild scored as high as it was. It was innovative. It was new. It was on the Switch. It looked amazing. It played amazing. Okay, great. Games like God of War got a 94. Breathtaking. The game completely revamped from previous God of Wars, right? So all these games that scored astronomically high on Metacritic, they deserved it. And so I'm just trying to see how and where this 97 is justified. And like, none of the knocks, none of the glitches that still persist to today, they didn't take any of that count. Oh, it's from software. It's to be expected.
Yeah,
but
but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just constant excuses as to why all these negatives that people who are not just gushing over the game are noticing, and they're like, nah, he's just got used to it. This is how it is. It's like, so this entire time, several generations of video games, and they've corrected none of these gripes, and you guys just
eat it up,
started accepting it, like.
And do you remember a couple months ago when I guess like the CEO of From Software had made some comment where, we saw what Demon Souls did, and we want to do the same thing. And I remember, I wish I could find that article where they were talking about that. But I'm thinking when I booted it up and I'm playing it, and I was like, shit, if you were trying to strive to be like Demon Souls, you missed that mark big time. You know what I'm saying? You need to go back, and recook this. And I'm not saying it's a bad game, and I am not a Souls fan, so but I am a person that wants to try new things and get excited about things. But I really believe that they sent, because I was looking through Metacritic and I was looking through all the people that they sent it to, and aside from some of the big reviewers, VGC and some of them, they all seemed like they were already Souls hype fans. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you send it to the people that you knew were waiting for this game, and you knew would give it high marks and praise.
Oh, for sure.
And you didn't send it because it didn't even have any mixed reviews. It didn't have a single mixed review. All 67 positives, and I was just like, wow.
They were all foaming at the mouth to play that.
So
we're gonna go to the lady that have been waiting the longest. Okay.
Hey, I can't really speak about Elden Ring because I haven't played it at all because I've been just stuck and lost in Horizon Forbidden West.
Most of us never played Elden Ring. It's just what we've seen so far.
Right. My brother is playing Elden Ring right now, and this is his first Souls game as well. And I was just kind of asking him how he felt about it, and he says that from what he's told me, he said that the controls are clunky and they feel outdated, like the combat feels outdated. But he says, overall he's having a lot of fun, and he doesn't mind that he feels like he's just wandering around aimlessly. Because for him, he has this like power fantasy thing. So for him, he's fine with just running around and just, attacking things for no reason. But like he said, yeah, like it's clunky and the combat feels outdated, and you can feel the age of the engine that it's been built upon. But other than that, he says it's a lot of fun for him. That's his personal opinion on that.
Gotcha.
I hate it when people are trying to like compare Elden Ring and Horizon. Like
Wait,
they're
wait,
not
wait.
comparable.
Um, okay. Were
Yeah.
you here when I explained why I started this convo? I don't think you was. There was no
I don't think
compare.
so.
There was no real comparison to Elden Ring. It all started with two developers talking, and so it goes as this. Developer A said that the fact that Elden Ring is scored a 97 Metacritic is proof that reviewers don't give a flaming poop about game development. Game. Nate, how did you describe it? Game development?
It's
UX?
design.
Game
It's
design.
design.
Thank you.
Hmm.
My life is a lie. This is a developer talking. Another developer chimed in and she said, no PC graphics stability and performance, apparently. And the last person chimed in, and this is the person they're gonna focus on the most. He said, nor quest design, really. This dude is senior quest designer at Guerrilla Games. So then we started talking about how Guerrilla Games pushing the industry forward, how they improved upon Horizon Zero Dawn in every aspect, how there
Yeah.
is actual vegetation. But when you compare it to a game like Elden Ring, it doesn't have vegetation. The map is not truly an open map, unlike Horizon Zero Dawn. It's actually an open map where you see it, you can go there. Unless it's at the end of the map, then that's it. Um, but with Elden Ring, there are places where you can't go, and there is zero vegetation. Like there is zero interaction with. And here's the
Right.
thing: I don't care about this. I said it last week. Give me a place where I can put my weapons. More important for me than the ability for the grass to move when I move through it. But what I found important is at some point developers like him is gonna look at it and think, why should I put my 100% in if a person, a developer like FromSoft is doing way less and getting highly acclaimed
Well,
code than
it's
us?
because it's unfair. It's unfair and it's
Exactly.
biased. But they have to keep a certain reputation. They have a standard, and people hold them to that standard. And so Horizon came out amazing, and it being PlayStation, they're going to have almost unrealistic expectations, and then they're going to drag them down for every and any little mark that they can, but they won't drag it down for a game like Elden Ring from Software because they've already set, their standard, which is keeping the same combat, not having the best, gorgeous graphics, so they're not going to drag them down for that. But they sure as hell will drag down Horizon Forbidden West if, one leaf doesn't move right.
Basically, how it is. You just said everything that I said while you was away. So,
Yeah.
Morgan, how do you feel about this one? Because this one is a doozy.
Um, honestly, I'm just tired of the discussion of Elden Ring with
You are
this whole
tired, eh?
thing. Like, I really personally do not give a fuck. Um, I've watched Nate play it for like an hour or so. Was not impressed at all. It looked like
Oh,
early
so it
PS4
was
days
not
to me.
the second coming of sliced bread?
Yeah, I was not impressed. I was waiting to see what the 97 was. I mean, I guess it's not fair to judge it just for an hour, but I don't know. All I know is within the first 15 minutes of Horizon, I was vastly impressed,
You zoned out.
but with Elden Ring, I was just like, what am I looking at here? Like, I just But it's a Souls game, and the hype for this game has been building for the past couple years now, and everybody's been pushing it up to these crazy expectations, and now it's here. And I honestly believe it's mostly hype that's getting Elden Ring with these high scores. Like, just people wanting it to be so great and wanting it to be good, and oh my god, this is revolutionary for Souls types because it's open world and we've never had something like this. And oh my god, if you don't like it, it's because you're bad at the game. Get good, all that stuff.
But would you not
But
want something better for yourself?
personally,
Especially
yes.
when you look at a game like Horizon, would you not think,
Yeah.
oh no, fuck Horizon, with all the respect to Horizon, put Horizon aside, look at Blue Point,
Yeah, with Demon Souls.
Demon Souls.
Like, I was vastly impressed with Demon Souls within the first 10 minutes. I was like, I kept
Why?
stopping and was like, damn. Like,
Exclusive should never be the excuse then.
Yeah.
Exclusive, even like, you are like, at what point should we have developers accountable then? We can't. People buying it. This is apparently crushing numbers in UK. Apparently, most best-selling game since 2014 or something like that. Which is, here's the thing. I have access to Elden Ring. I'm gonna play Elden Ring. My issue is not with Elden Ring per se. My issue with PlayStation developers feeling demoralized. Now he is gonna get slack for what he said. Yeah, he already restricted his account because, again, you're gonna get
Yeah.
slack for it. But that's the reality of things, though. You're literally crediting a game for doing less.
I have a
Basically,
question real quick. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I have a
No,
question
go
real quick.
ahead.
So, like I said, I haven't played Elden Ring, so I have a question. In Elden Ring, does it have a Breath of the Wild type climbing?
No,
Okay, I don't
doesn't-
see anyone talking about that
it doesn't
because
have any.
they
doesn't
sure
have
stuck
any.
at the horizon.
It doesn't have any climbing at all. So
Oh yeah, that was a big criticism for Horizon. Why doesn't it have the Breath of the Wild climbing? But then
Yeah.
Elden Ring doesn't either. But okay.
Yeah.
But it gets passed.
Yeah,
but that's the
yeah,
thing.
and it's not. I'm not hating against Elden Ring. I'm hating against the
bias.
people
Yeah.
towards it and then turning on Horizon and ripping it apart. Like, it's frustrating. And when I first read the reviews that came in when the embargo lifted, and you saw the low scores, like the 60s and the 65s, and at first, it frustrated me then. But as I've played the game more and more, and I'm at 71 hours, it makes I've become even more frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about as I'm playing it more? And it's infuriating because they have improved on every aspect. Now, some things still need further improvement, but they have improved upon the last game. They've taken people's criticism from the last game and they have applied it to Forbidden West. The skill trees are amazing. The melee has become a lot deeper and more enjoyable. And they have more variety of weapons. I've been just having fun experimenting with the different weapons that they've provided.
I've seen your gameplay. Yeah.
Yeah, it blows my mind, but I'm not surprised at the same time.
You know what's wild? I just want to jump in real quick just because you said that. And I saw in no fewer than 4 reviews the variety of weapons listed as a negative. It's like, it's all this stuff, but you're just going to pick your set and move on. I'm like, I haven't found that to be the case at all. It's so weird. So yeah, I'm just glad you said that because I was like, am I taking crazy pills? Like, why are all these reviewers saying like, what's with all the weapons? It's like variety and fun and extra stuff to play around with. I don't know. So just thank you.
So a game
I
like
thought I was
Elden
crazy.
Ring, a game like Elden Ring that has trillion weapons, that's okay? I
And
Yeah,
I've also seen somewhat the opposite of what you're saying, as in they say, oh, you only need a bow, you only need the spears, and that's it. You can get through the whole game like that. And it's like, yeah, but there's a whole bunch of other games where you can literally get through a game. Okay, you can play Resident Evil with just a knife. You can do a
You
whole
can
knife
literally beat any Dark
playthrough.
Souls game with just your fist.
Yeah, so
What did
to
people?
me
Yeah.
that tells me that you have a lack of creativity, and you
No, no,
can
no,
use a
no,
bow,
no,
you
no.
can use the spears.
No. What tells me they have a lack of passion. They don't care about gaming anymore.
Yeah,
This is no
right.
longer their passion. This is just a job for them. Sorry for interrupting, but I had to say
Oh,
this.
oh yeah, yeah. And like you said, lack of passion, lack of creativity. They like I mean, like I said, I've been experimenting because it's fun.
Hmm?
Like, and even though you can use a bow for every machine, that doesn't mean it's exactly the best weapon to use against it. Like I've experimented with some of the warrior bows that have elemental effects, like lightning, freeze, and like fire. And I've actually my personal preference is to use the bolt blaster with their
Oh,
elemental over the warrior, the little warrior bows. So like you can use regular bows, or you can find something that's more fun, and it might even be a better weapon in the long run. So I feel like that should not be a thing against any game, to say you can
yeah.
only use one weapon to get through it. Well, of course you can. Of course. I mean, come on.
It's almost again. I'm going into conspiracy territory, but this literally feels like an agenda against PlayStation. Like, when was variety of weapons ever an issue? Should that not be appreciated?
Hey, Omar.
Sorry?
Hey, Omar. I gotta bounce. I'm gonna spend some time with the family. Guys, I
Yeah.
want to thank you for having me on,
Hey,
and you guys have a great weekend, great night.
before you leave, plug in your YouTube channel, cause this Sunday we're gonna have a great show.
Yes. So tomorrow at 11:30 Central, it'll be Ghost in the Garage Gaming. I've got a couple special guests. Of course, my co-host will be Krabba, aka Omar and the Game Slayers. I appreciate you stepping through. But we had a great turnout last week. So it's Ghost in the Garage Gaming on YouTube. And also hit me up on PlayStation at Ghost in the Shell 55 if you ever want to get some gaming in and just talk about gaming and relaxing and chilling and laughing. So tomorrow at 11:30 Central, come check me out.
Later, guys. Thank you for
See you
coming,
later,
stopping
guys.
by. Um,
Bye.
and the final topic, which I had to, but Phil Spencer is a liar. We leave it at that. This dude want to talk about how he want people to stop hating on developers and celebrate gaming. This is the same dude that follows Dealer and Cult. The same people that trash it on PlayStation every single time. So we leave it at that. I actually want to cover this because I actually wanted Akira to be here, because this is very interesting, which is Babylonfall downfall. Drew, my man, my dude, you're the Square Enix dude, and as much as I want to blame Platinum Games, at the very end I'm gonna blame Square Enix for this one, because Square Enix is the one that uh, what do you call? You have developer and you have, what do you call? Publisher. Oh my god, I forgot that word. Okay, so it all depends. Innate, you're in the know. If a publisher wants something, can he or she change it? Let's say a developer want to create an RPG. Can a publisher say, no, we want you to create a free-to-play instead? Please be here, Innate, otherwise I must... Innate is not here. Drew, do you know?
I mean, I don't really know specifically that particular relationship. I guess What I would say on this, I mean, given any opportunity to defend Square, I will. If I can blame it on anybody else, I'll be like, no, it was them. They certainly do have
But that
more of a hit and miss record as a publisher, as you were saying, rather than a developer. Like when they really put their best development talent behind something, they tend to make very good games. Um, they've been hit and miss with this publishing record. Obviously, the Avengers was a big miss. Guardians of the Galaxy was absolutely phenomenal.
it
You
was
know,
as much as it was a hit, it was actually a miss when it comes to financial situation. They were not happy with the Guardian of the Galaxy number.
right? And you and I have talked about this a little bit, and that's a marketing problem. That's the way it was shown off. That's the way it was
But
introduced,
they
and
didn't.
that,
But to cut you off a little bit, they literally didn't learn from the mistake. Look how they showcased Forspoken. It's like, what you're doing.
yeah, I mean, it's it's tough, man, because for Square's like big titles, it's one of those companies we hold a very, very high standard. And fair enough, because they've delivered over the years a lot. And so, we hold them up there to that standard, and they also tend to overpromise and all of that as well. But I think you know, I don't know. For me, the Forspoken one was weird because I didn't have a negative reaction to the unveiling of Forspoken at all. I thought it looked incredible.
It
I
looks
had the same
incredible.
reaction. I mean, just from every angle. I liked
Um, did
everything
you
I
see?
saw
Did you see the
from
frame drop?
Forspoken. The what?
Frame drop.
Oh yeah, I don't care about stuff like that. Those are the
You,
kinds of things that people, especially in a preview, like I'm not going to care about a
but
frame
that,
drop in a
but
early build of a game like that.
that's
Like
how what's it called? Guardian of the Galaxy was destroyed for because of the frame drop, which is
yeah,
again.
but it also had other issues. Like it also it looked rougher in general. It didn't have a lot of the polish that it would eventually have. And the other thing that was a big problem with Guardians of the Galaxy was that it kept getting shown off at these like specialty square events where people kept expecting like big like Final Fantasy announcements and like big Square properties and stuff. And so a lot of the like hate that Guardians got when it was first getting shown off, it was just kind of like yeah, like some of it was on Square, but some of it was just the circumstances of the game itself. And they would do these like 20-minute deep dives in at these events where people are like, man, nobody came here for to hear about some Guardians of the game. Plus the failure of Avengers, was coming right off of that. So I was like, man, no one wants to see Square publish another Marvel superhero game. They just screwed one up. Like, so it was just like the perfect storm for people to dismiss Guardians, which I think is too bad because it's really, really fantastic game, and I'm glad that I played through it. But you know, some of these other games, the smaller games that they publish but don't develop themselves, that they've outsourced, right? Like Triangle Strategy, um, it's doing relatively well. So like Babylon's Fall always looked to me like it was going to be a mediocre game at best. It's disappointing. I don't like again. We sort of talked earlier about it and
Wait,
went
did you?
through.
So you believe it was disappointing for the first time it was revealed? Because I actually had hope for it when it first was revealed. I was actually hyped for it. When they revealed it the
Yeah,
second time and you see the downgrade, you actually see the fact that now it's a game as a live service. Then hype died for it. Then I was like, oh man, you destroyed what could have been something amazing.
yeah. I don't know. I That's just a different relationship I have with games. I know you and I have also talked about and disagreed about Final Fantasy
I
15.
was
And
literally about to bring that up. I was
yeah,
genuinely literally about
yeah,
to bring that up.
yeah.
Final Fantasy 15 launched abysmal, and then they fixed it via patches and you name it, an update and stuff like that. So, do you think we could see a recovery from this game, or is there on arrival?
No, I mean that's the other thing that I think Square has also shown a track record of, which is bizarre because you'd like to just not screw stuff up out of the gate, but and I do disagree slightly. I very much enjoyed Final Fantasy 15 right on launch day. I loved that game a lot. But they've also shown, and I've talked to people who've said, I haven't played it, I can't confirm it, but I've talked to a lot of people who've said Avengers is a lot more fun now than it was when it came out, and it's really worth giving a try if you enjoy the Avengers and the general concept of the game. And I'm like, maybe I would. Obviously, the poster child for Square recovering from a massive failure is Final Fantasy 14, right? Its initial launch was just a disaster. And rather than say, well, never mind, scrap it or turn off the servers or whatever, they've fixed it and now since turned it into the most successful MMO of all time. So I think there's always the opportunity if enough people show interest and they decide to put some quality developers on it that Babylon's Fall could be um, saved. I guess is the word, but made into a better product and something that people can enjoy. They've certainly shown the willingness to do that in the past. So I hope so for the people that are liking it. Just there's got to be enough of them. But they've shown, like I said, they did it with Avengers, Final Fantasy 14. I'm sure there's other things they've made better. It's one thing going back to not to belabor the point, but everyone, we talk about From Software and people give them all this credit for like not bowing to, I don't know, pressure for them to give up on their vision or whatever. But Square, for better or for worse, listens to their fans and tries to give people what they say they want to some extent. So you got to give them some credit for that. I think we'll see if they can recover from this because they do have a much more shoddy resume in the last couple of years with these publishing deals. Rather than, like I said, when they really develop, like I thought 7 Remake was an absolute banger. 14's doing great. Their RPGs are still fantastic, but when they go off in these other directions, publish these other things, they've been very hit and miss. And I'd like to see them get it together a little bit.
So with this move, where do you put Platinum Games now? They are genuinely not
I
in
have
a
no
good
need for
spot.
Platinum Games. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't need them. Sorry, that's mean, but I personally don't need Platinum Games for anything.
It's such a sad situation because we want developers to be better, to do better, and it's almost like companies don't wanna understand game as a live server is not it. Halo is dead. What's the name of that game? Godfall dead. Um, what's the name of that game now? Which is not every game is going to be a Fortnite. Heck, even when Fortnite was revealed, it died. They had to change the entire formula to be what it is right now. Fortnite was never Fortnite, the one you're playing right now. So, with that being said, Innate, you here? No? You ladies, I know both of you don't play RPG like that, but do you guys even care about the topic? I'm curious.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't even heard about this game's existence until I saw it plastered on Twitter about, from Xbox fanboys about the score. So no. I didn't even know what that game was. I was like, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure, Kay, you don't even know about that game.
No, I
well.
know of it. I've heard of it. I've seen it, but I have not looked into it, so I really have no comment.
Yeah. With that being said, I wanna. This show went off for a long time. I I would apologize, but I'm like, I had fun. I'm pretty sure most of you guys had fun, otherwise you would have left. I want to thank everyone for coming through, and especially our guest, first time guest, but definitely welcome to come back anytime you want. Drew, where people can find you, Mr. Final Fantasy guy?
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me. It's at FF Weekly Pod on Twitter, and the podcast, if you're into Final Fantasy, is if you just search for FF Weekly or FF Weekly Pod, wherever you get your podcasts and stuff, we're up there everywhere. And yeah, I'm always down any JRPGs too. Like we only do the podcast about Final Fantasy. We also talk about Studio Ghibli movies, but on Twitter, I'm always down to talk about, you know, Breath of Fire or old school JRPGs. I know better. I haven't gotten into like Persona and Nier as much, modern games because I don't have as much time these days. But I'm always down to talk games, whatever. So yeah, appreciate you having me. This was a lot of fun.
Great show. Also, come at him for conversation. Don't come at him for console war. He's not that dude when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Innate is not here. People can find him at the real Innate on Twitter. And then we have Kay, where people can find you.
You can find me on Twitter. It's at Kaylee1103. Kaylee is spelled KALEIGH 1103.
And you can find Audrey destroying dudes on Twitter. Shut up. I love that. Shut your mouth.
God.
I
Yeah,
love
she
that.
really told J-Rock, didn't she?
He deserved it. He deserved it. Like, and I know for sure he was not joking. I know for sure he was absolutely not joking. Morgan, where people can find you.
All right, bye everybody. Thanks for coming through. It's Morgan. You can find me on Twitter as well at Chill Bandit. And great show today. Great discussions. See you guys next week.
I
Yeah.
completely agree.
Oh, hey, he's alive.
Nah, I heard you. You already said it for me. That was enough.
Yeah, take care. And with that being said, thanks everyone for coming through. Again, thanks for Final Fantasy Dude, aka Drew, for coming by. And see you guys next week. Later.
Peace.